Hi, everybody. Welcome to this new moon in Capricorn report. Um, I'm Pia. I run Tree Astrology, and I'm an astrologer with a base or fundamentals in Hellenistic astrology. And I use the whole sign house system and the Western tropical zodiac. I have a website I have the website called Tree Astrology, and I do posts on my Astral Musings page. And so I do regular posts on the moon cycles at the moment. I'm hoping to do more. It's just a matter of finding the time. And I also give a more in-depth report on the new moon and the full moon on my Astral Musings page on my website, lifetreeastrology.com. If you'd like a reading, please go through my webpage as well. You can have a look at your chart, what's coming up. If you've got anything or specific areas of your life that you'd like me to look at, we can do that as well. So have a look at that. And if you'd like to be notified of my posts on the new moon and the full moon, you can subscribe as well. Bear with me, I'm still working on the website and just getting to know. I have done that sort of work before, but it is quite time consuming. So this new moon happens in Capricorn. It's at 28 degrees and 43 minutes. So for me, I'm in Perth, Australia. It's happening on the 19th of January, 2026. If you're in other parts of the world, it could be happening on the 18th. So this new moon happens in the wake of the closure of the last Capricorn cycle. So there was a Capricorn new moon, December 2024. I think it was on the 30th. It was right at the last few days of December. And then there was a culmination of full moon of that new moon or those new moon initiations on July 2025. So you can always sort of look at what beginnings happened in December of 24, what culminated in July of 2025. And so this new moon really is bringing closure to that cycle. And it's also, the new moon is bringing initiations, new beginnings. You'll be coming in with new intentions for this new cycle. And it's a very, the last couple of years, it's always interesting, but the last couple of 2 years have been very, very interesting. Big changes. But this new moon comes shortly after the double rebirth of Venus and Mars. They had dual Cazimis very, very recently in the heart of the sun. And so for Venus, that happened, I think it was the 6th of January, and Mars, it was the 9th. And it was very, very interesting because both Venus and Mars were in a triple conjunction with the sun for a really extended period of time. So pretty much from the very end of December to right through to the 17th of January as well. And so for those of you who don't know, we are talking about the synodic cycles of Venus and Mars. So that really means that, all planets, they will meet the sun. And then that period from when they till they next meet the sun, it's a synodic period. And when planets are in the heart of the sun, they are said to be Cazimi. And so it's seen as a sort of a rebirth for those planets. When they pass through the heart of the sun, they are showered in the heat and the light, the divine light of the sun. And we say that the planet is recalibrated. It's, anything that's no longer relevant is burnt away. And so Venus went through her rebirth, and then very shortly after Mars as well. So really, they are bringing to this new moon as well a reset. They are clarified. Venus has new desires. Mars has new drive, new goals, and that's very, very interesting as well. So the new moon happens in the third decan. That I had to stop the recording. Somebody at the front door. Okay. So, right. So we're going into this new moon with the rebirth of Venus and Mars. And this new moon is happening, first of all, in Decan 3. And I go into this in my post, but the third decan of Capricorn is associated with the Four of Pentacles. And, this is all about security, stability, wise savings. And the card also warns against miserliness, hoarding, or the pursuit of material security at the expense of spirit. So I feel like it is, the Capricorn energy is very much about material security. It's about legacy. It's about building long-term towards goals. And so there is a very material focus in that sense. And we've just got to remember that, the role that material security has in our life, and material security in terms of not letting the pursuit of money kill our spirit in that sense, or becoming an aim within itself. So it's really interesting too, with Saturn ruling Capricorn, that, there's the connection to the Devil card in the tarot, which is really about being entrapped by worldly temptations and structures that we build. So, just a reminder about that. And with the Sun as well, it's the Chaldean ruler of the third decan as well. So the Sun card is very much about building with authenticity and self-expression as well. All right, so I mentioned the Capricorn energy of this new moon. So it is very strong, particularly because the new moon has an assembly, traveling through Capricorn with her, and also conjunct. So we've got the Sun with the moon, as it is always at a new moon, and that's at 28 degrees and 43 minutes. And the Sun here in Capricorn is all, gives us our direction, our purpose, our will. And the moon in Capricorn is requiring protection and security, which relates to that material security. And for the moon, that really comes down to emotional security. So for the moon, it's about protection and security and stability. And relating as well. And so the moon here needs to be a little bit more pragmatic as well. And then you've got Mercury. So Mercury is also sitting with this new moon. It's at 26 degrees and 53. I just realized I'm not sharing. So let me just share so you can have a look at the you can have a look at this. So where is my share button? More. Let me just pause it for a sec, just a second. There you go. So I think that you can see my that you can see now I'm sharing the right screen. Fantastic. All right. So so here you can see it. So you've got the moon at 28 degrees 43. You've got the Sun here, which is always sitting together with the new moon conjunct. And then we've got Mercury here at 26 degrees 53. And so Mercury in Capricorn is very authoritative. It's serious. It's strategic. It's practical. And you've got Mars as well here. So Mars here at 26 degrees and 27 degrees. It's coming into this new moon, not only exalted as it is in Capricorn, but also with, new drive. It's had a rebirth, and it's really decided, okay, what are my goals? What is it that I'm really driven to succeed in? So and in Capricorn as well, when it's exalted, it's particularly constructive, lots of perseverance, lots of strategy, and lots of drive and energy. Together with the moon, there's a lot of willpower here as well. And interestingly too, I noticed that Astraea, Astraea is an asteroid, is also here at 28 degrees and 38 minutes. So it is very, very close to this new moon. So Astraea is in Greek mythology the goddess of justice, sometimes called the Star Maiden, and she walked among mortals, people during the Golden Age. And as the myth goes, she was disillusioned by the cruelty and the corruption of people on Earth, so she decided to leave in sorrow, and she went to live amongst the stars in the heavens, in the constellations. And so she became part of the Virgo constellation, and she also carried the scales of justice, which eventually became part of Libra. So the significance of the Astraea sounds like Australia. Astraea is about being ethical, about ambition that's founded on integrity as well, and ethical principles. So there's a real call here, I think, with this new moon in Capricorn to really make sure that we are building with integrity as well and a pure heart. Okay, so the other really interesting thing, so Venus is reborn with new desires, and she has at the time, well, she moved into Aquarius on January 17. And, Venus rules relationships, connections, harmony, and you can see her there. I'm just pointing, hopefully you can see that. Connections, harmony, balance, beauty, aesthetics, pleasure, sensuality. It's our values, our self-worth, it's money, possessions, and it also Venus represents the sort of the feminine principle as well. So Venus has moved into Aquarius, and Aquarius, in Aquarius, Venus really values freedom, intellect, individuality. She's can be rebellious. She can be visionary. She can be humanitarian and really driven by ethics as well. And it's so interesting because as soon as she drops into Aquarius, she goes into a conjunction with Pluto. And so with Pluto is, the Lord of the Underworld, as Pluto is known as. Pluto is intense. Pluto represents, death and rebirth. It's about transformation. Pluto is very much about power as well. So Venus in here can be a little bit obsessive in love. They watch out for sort of power plays or power struggles. But, there could be a real intensity in desires, in relationships, in emotions as well. If you're in a relationship, but it doesn't need to be only like love relationships, it can be within other relationships as well. So there's a real depth here to Venus for about 5 days when she first dips in, where there's a really strong desire to go down into the depths of emotional experience. Very interesting. So basically, look for real intensity in those first 5 days when Venus is in there. So about up until the 22nd. So we're sort of setting the picture. You've got the new moon here. Venus is in Aquarius. She's got new desires born in Capricorn for really, what she values, what she desires, what she wants. You've got Mars in there. I'm just recapping. Mars, a very strong drive with the moon and the sun and Mercury for really looking at the long term. What is it that I want? Authentically looking at myself. What is it that I want? Are you willing to work towards getting that? Do you have the patience? And this is really important because, the ruler of Capricorn is Saturn. And Saturn, therefore, is the host of this. It's a ruler and host of all these planets in Capricorn as well. And Saturn is called the taskmaster. Saturn is like the teacher that was kind of strict with you, and you probably didn't like them, but then when you left school later on, you went, oh, they actually taught me, they really taught me something about patience, about hard work, overcoming obstacles. And really that's really important because, we've got here, you can probably see here, you've got Saturn, you've got Neptune. They are sitting in Pisces, and they have been traveling through Pisces for quite some time. And I've got actually some dates here. So Neptune came into Pisces back in 2011, dipped into Aries for a while in March 2025, returned to Pisces October 2025, and will be returning into Aries January 26, so very, very soon. And then you've got Saturn there since 2023 in Pisces. So Saturn also briefly went into Aries with Neptune in May of 2025 and then went back into Pisces. And Saturn as well will be coming out of Pisces February 14th. So that could be 13th, depending on where you are. And so you think about these two planets having been within Pisces for so long. Pisces is a water sign. Pisces is very much about, it's boundless, boundaryless. It's really all about, in some ways, connection on a lot of levels. And so having Saturn and Neptune in here for such a long time has really been bringing lessons in ensuring that you have structure within spirituality, within your spiritual beliefs, your higher beliefs. It's been about maturing your dreams as well. It's about having faith and vision, but also having practicality as well, and also the discipline and the inner strength as well to move towards your goals. And really, those lessons in putting boundaries down as well. So that it's been a real difficult job to balance vision and dreams, ideals with the practicalities of life, making sure that we have structure, making sure that we have discipline. And I've really found that because they've been moving through my 8th house. I'll share that later with Leo, but it's very much been teaching me to really, really develop that inner strength to not give up, to hold on to my dreams, even when you feel kind of alone in that. Maybe people don't understand what you're doing, to have the, that persistence, that drive to overcome. So some really big lessons there in Pisces, and obviously that depends on which house that is for you. But yeah, it's certainly been a very transformative time having both Saturn and Neptune in there, and this will be the last time that they're in there for quite some time. So the other thing too is you've got the new moon here at 28. You've got a trine from Uranus here in Taurus. I'm drawing, sort of pulling it across. Uranus is in a sextile to Saturn and Venus here, and you've got another sextile from Saturn and sorry, did I say Venus? Neptune to the new moon, and this forms a sort of a triangular structure here, sometimes called a mini grand trine, but it's a very supportive, stable triangle. And so with the new moon, it's really the wisdom that you've gained from this long transit of having Saturn and Neptune moving through your Pisces house is really giving you harmony, support, and sort of bringing, it's about sextiles are often certainly harmonious, supportive, benefic, but it really brings you opportunities. So really, making sure that you grab those opportunities when they come, with the lessons of, not letting go of your dreams, and but also making sure that you're being realistic and practical as well on your way to achieve them. So, the new moon is all about new beginnings. So the initiations that are being born now by this new moon are supported by this wisdom. You have very big Uranus flavor, and certainly Uranus has been making trines to both Mars and to the other planets. They're all moving past this trine in Uranus. So it's a very Uranian time. So Uranus providing this beautiful trine to the new moon as well. So this, again, providing wonderful support. And then Uranus as well in that sextile. So this also, Uranus is the great awakener. And Uranus is very much about unexpected events. It's about breakthroughs. It's about self-expression. It's about being on the right path for you. And so Uranus is the kind of planet that if you're not following if you're not being authentic and following the path that's true to you, if you are suppressing parts of yourself or putting up with being in relationships or situations that are not right for you, and if you are unwilling to make change, because Uranus is certainly about change, Uranus is if you have that Uranus influence, sometimes Uranus will just make something kind of unexpected and big happen. Sometimes things that are not very pleasant or a big surprise or a shock, but ultimately they kind of release you. So and certainly for me, I've had Uranus in my 10th house. But, being in a trine, these are going to be more favorable for you. And certainly I've had a few surprises work-wise. I've got Saturn in my 10th house of work. I'm still, doing my day job. Astrology is a big passion for me. And ultimately, I realized that I want to be doing astrology and my painting and art full time and my music. So I realized, this is what makes my heart sing. And so Uranus brought some blessings for me in terms of my current job that's going to allow me more freedom to pursue what my heart desires. So look for unexpected events, breakthroughs, a real sense of rebellion. I've certainly felt that real sense of wanting to break free, wanting to rebel. Thank goodness Saturn has been there, making me a little bit more responsible and, not to do anything too impulsive. But certainly that Uranian drive and impulse that has been certainly for me very, very present. So in that sense, wonderful support both from Uranus and from Saturn and Neptune. And also you've got Jupiter. This is a trine by sign, but you have Jupiter is sitting in your Cancer house. And so Jupiter is the greater benefic. Jupiter is about justice and faith and expansion and opportunities and growth. And, Jupiter is exalted, very happy in Cancer. And you can see that by whole sign house, Jupiter, again, provides a beautiful sextile to Uranus as well. So ensuring that any of these breakthroughs or these changes, these initiations of the moon are really blessed by protection and nurturance, very much the Cancerian sort of themes, distilled themes. And then you've got Jupiter as well in a sign by trine to Saturn and Neptune as well. So, the energy from this is very much that follow your heart. Okay, you've got the vision from Neptune, you've got the new desires in Venus, ready to, refine relationships, bring new relationships into your life. You've got Saturn and Neptune, who've been really teaching you big lessons about living in the real world, but holding on to your faith and your vision for what you want. And then you've got this amazing exalted Mars with incredible drive, perseverance, strategy, unusually constructive as well. And, so this is a wonderful time to bet on yourself, to follow your heart, to do it with maturity, with structure. And I guess, as with any dream, how much do you want it? How much does it mean to you? So I think that's really like the essence of these times as well. So what else did I want to mention? Just let me go through my notes here. So, okay, so after this, so I've talked about that, Venus has moved into Aquarius with her new desires, born in Capricorn. And I've mentioned that she meets Pluto pretty much for the first 5 days as well. And so interesting, but soon after this new moon seeds on the 19th, the moon will just hours afterwards move into Aquarius herself, where she will meet Pluto as well for a very brief time, and she'll move through in a couple of days. After that, you've got the sun. So basically from the 19th to the 24th, you've got the moon going into Aquarius, meeting Pluto, moving on. And then afterwards, you've got the sun, and then Mercury, and then finally Mars. This is all between the 19th and 24th, all making this procession into the Aquarius, sign of Aquarius, all with a brief but very, very remarkable meeting with Pluto. So I just love the symbolism of this. It's like each of those new moon planets basically goes through this this powerful meeting with Pluto, this transformative, short, but very powerful meeting with Pluto. And so I just think that's so interesting, because it's the idea of the planets all moving now on into Aquarius after this new moon with, after having had a brief with Pluto, very, very, very interesting. Just a note before I move into the horoscopes, these are very significant new beginnings. And I talked about, also, I don't have the date on, but obviously Mercury is also going to have a cazimi as well with the sun, in the heart of the sun, where it'll get a divine download as well. But when planets, apart from when they're in the heart of the sun, when planets are in ancient Hellenistic astrology, when they are very close to the sun, we say that they are weakened, and also that once they reach a certain distance away from the sun, they're still under the beams. And any planet that is very close to the sun also will not be visible in the sky for some time. And so we often say that until those planets make their debut, when they're far enough away from the sun to actually be visible in the sky again, that obviously in the night sky, that it is at that time when they're visible that the manifestations of those new seeds, those new beginnings, actually become visible to the outside world, to the public. So don't be surprised that even though you might have come into this new moon with new desires or clarified ideas, desires, and that you are making motions towards those goals and perhaps making changes to make sure that those goals are supported as you work towards them, that there may not be anything overtly visible until later in March. So basically, all those planets emerge from the sun's beam mid to late March. Okay. And so just to be aware of that. Okay, so I'm about to go through the horoscopes. I might pause the video in just a moment just to make sure that I am recording. You know how you just like, I've seen other astrologers do it. They go, Am I recording? And it is kind of an important point when you've been talking for quite a while. So I'll have a look at that in a moment. But just before I pause to check, so with these horoscopes, as I said, I'm a whole sign house astrology, meaning I use the whole sign house system, which means that the best thing to read for is your ascendant sign. So your ascendant sign is the zodiac that was rising in the eastern horizon when you were born. And that automatically in whole sign house system becomes your first house. Now, your sun can be anywhere else. Okay, so wherever the sun is, obviously that will be your sun sign. Wherever the moon is, that will be your moon sign. And they're the big three, but of course we all have a Jupiter sign, we all have a Venus sign, a Mars sign. I do recommend that you, if you get a chance, get to know your own chart. As I mentioned, I think at the beginning, if you're a beginner, you can go to AstroSeek. You can go to Astraea.com. They give free charts, okay? And you can see where all your planets are sitting. So, you can still listen for your sun sign as well, all right? Okay, I'm going to take a break, have a quick drink of water, and I'm just going to just make sure that everything is working. All right. Okay, so let's get into the horoscopes. So I'm going to put Aries on the ascendant. So Aries people. So Aries, this new moon and her assembly of the sun, Astraea, and you've got Mercury here, Mars. This is happening in your 10th house. So this is particularly important. This is in an angular house. So in astrology, we say that the 10th house representing our public self, the fourth house representing our most private area, our home, our psychological foundations, our family, our ancestry, ancestral lands. So that's the 10th and the 4th. And then we have the first, which represents ourself, and the 7th house, which is the other committed relationship. So really, they form the 10th, the 4th, the 7th, and the 1st are considered to be angular houses. And so any planets or events in those houses are said to be of particular importance. So Aries, this is really all about your career. If you're not working, if you're a student, it's really about your public actions. It's about your public reputation as well. And so this really augurs new beginnings in your 10th house. All right. So new beginnings, directions, goals in your, your plans, your goals, your aspirations, and your career and your current job. So again, you've got amazing drive. You've got a newly clarified and reborn Mars here, who in Capricorn is very driven. He's exalted. He's driven to achieve long-term goals. He's willful. He brings a lot of energy, a lot of persistence, not going to give up. You've got Mercury in here, very strategic, very serious, very authoritative, giving you real clear, practical, strategic thinking as well. You've got, I'm not going to go into Astraea again, but Astraea basically reminding you to build with integrity. Have a look at the intro if you haven't yet. You've got the moon here looking for material security through protection and emotional security through protection and material security as well. And you've got the sun here again, giving you purpose and willpower and direction in terms of what it is that you want to achieve and build for yourself. What legacy do you want? And very much about self-expression as well. So it's a real full house, and there's a real emphasis on that. So, at this time too, Aries, I just want to mention, we talked about, you've got the Mars here in your 10th house. Mars is very strong at the moment, very driven, exalted. And, Mars is the ruler of your first house. And actually, that's my my son is an Aries rising, and he's literally started one of his first jobs ever, apart from the one he had when he was a late teenager. But he is particularly driven at the moment. He's just started a new job, up all night, preparing, working. I don't think I've seen him quite this, disciplined and just going for it. So, being the ruler of your first house, of your ascendant and your first house, you're probably really driven at the moment, full of energy. So this is very particularly strong for you as well, because it means that what you are achieving, what you're working towards now, any new beginnings in your career, 10th house, is really developing you personally as well. And I'm certainly very much involved in your body, your mind, your self-esteem, your identity as well. So your inner self. So very, very relevant to you personally. The other thing I wanted to mention was that you've got Neptune and Saturn sitting in your 12th house, and they are sextile to your 10th house. So, they've been there for many, many years. Well, Saturn certainly just over 2 years, not longer. You've got Neptune there, who's been there since, what has she been here? Since 2011. Saturn in there since, March 2023. And this is quite the 12th house is quite can be quite a challenging house. So it's the house of our, inner psyche, inner mind. It's called the house of undoing. So this can be the part of ourselves that we often are not aware of, parts of our subconscious. And within here, there can be aspects of holding on to past events. There could be things that basically bring us sort of angst or grief or sorrow. It could be self-limiting beliefs. It can be negative self-undoing, habits that basically ultimately are not for our higher good, addictions or anxieties. And so, there's been big changes in that house for you. And really, I think with Saturn and Neptune there, you probably really had to go in to shine a light on some of the things that were perhaps holding you back, and unpack some of those to get some spiritual freedom again. Oftentimes when we don't want to deal with stuff or we hide stuff in the back of our psyche or in our subconscious, they still operate and can cause us angst or grief. So I think that with Saturn and Neptune about to leave, all that wisdom, any inner deep spiritual work that you've done, this has really allowed you the freedom now to really get out into the world in that 10th house and to really go for it, to go for your goals with a new sense of confidence in who you are, how you present yourself to the world, what you have to give to the world. You've also got Uranus here in your second house. So Uranus has been bringing sort of big changes, breakthroughs, ups and downs in your second house. And certainly there might have been that real sort of sense of you wanting to be more authentic, to express what it is that you really want to do and how you want to make money, in the modern sense as well, what you value, how you value yourself and other things in your life. That could be people or possessions as well. But, traditionally, this is the house of resources and livelihood. So some very big changes too in your connection to your finances, how you make a living, and perhaps, some new goals that you have in that area. You've had, just coming back to that. So you've got Uranus in a trine. So there might be some unexpected breakthroughs in terms of any new developments that you are you know, in any of your career or your work or your public image. There could be some sudden breakthroughs, some sudden innovations as well, which are tied to, you know, how you make money and your finances and all of those things. Uranus also, you know, providing that sextile to Saturn and Venus. So, and just lastly as well, you've got Jupiter, which has really been providing this really amazing nurturing support in your fourth house of home, family, your inner sanctuary, your inner emotions. You know, it's where it's the most private part of ourselves and our lives. And so really you know, Jupiter here has been providing blessings, support. Jupiter is exalted here, opportunities for growth as well. And so reminding you here as well, in opposition to this new moon, that, you know, it's very important, if we're going to be out in the world pushing ourselves to achieve those material things, not to forget your foundations, your home foundations, and how important they are. And also perhaps the people that you share your home with as well, which could be family or friends or housemates. Yeah, so really beautiful. And let me just have a look if there's anything I've missed. Just to say afterwards as well, all of these planets will soon be moving into your Aquarius house, Aries. So, you know, again, they're all moving into this Capricorn sign. This is your house of friends, allies, your social circle, your colleagues, people that you share values with. It's your house of aspiration, hopes, and dreams. And so there is going to be a real focus on that coming up, and in the next month or two. And it'll be very, very interesting to see, you know, how your relationships may grow, any changes that happen in terms of your dreams and goals as well. So anyway, I will follow up with a new report. I've probably gone on too long. It's going to take forever if I do this. Yeah, wishing you all the best, Aries. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm just going to move straight into Taurus. So Taurus, this is happening in your ninth house, this new moon. So this ninth house is all about your spiritual beliefs. It's about higher learning. It's about new horizons. So it could be new cultures, foreign lands. It's about philosophy. It's about religion. It's could be the law or legal studies. It could be going back to university. So the ninth house here is really lit up by not only the new moon, obviously the sun there as well. Astraea, reminding you to build anything with integrity, with justice. You've got Mercury here in Capricorn, bringing practicality, practicality and strategic thinking, authority. And you've got an exalted Mars here in Capricorn as well. Mars exalted, he's got very strong drive. He's really, he's newly rebirthed in Capricorn as well. So he's gone through his Cassini with the sun, which has pulled back anything unnecessary and just left that real clear drive and desire for certain goals. And Mars here is very constructive. So it's a very auspicious new moon for you. Just a quick note, the sun is exalted in the ninth house as well, the house of God, the house of Theos. So just a beautiful new start here. So in terms of Capricorn, in terms of that ninth house, you know, you might be looking at a decision, for example, to go back to university. It could be related to, you know, going into a new spiritual belief, perhaps some religious studies, or, you know, any other sort of spiritual study. It's quite beautiful there. You might decide to go traveling. You might be in a situation where you suddenly meet a lot of people from different cultures that really expand your thinking, your mind. Yeah. So Capricorn, Capricorn. So Taurus, that's in your ninth house. And also Taurus, you've got Uranus here, which is about to leave your first house. I think it is, I've written it down. It's going to be leaving Taurus, your first house, after almost 8 years. April 2026. So you've probably found Uranus here in your first house. If you look back on the last 8 years, it's been some really big changes in terms of you, obviously, but how you see yourself, what you show to the world, how you present yourself to the world. You'll probably find that you have greater authenticity now. Uranus really demands that we are truly authentic. So perhaps you feel more comfortable in your own skin now. There might have been some quite difficult sort of unexpected events that really drove that growth in terms of you, that extends to your, your mind, your body, your character, all aspects of you. And you might be really feeling that sense of wanting, or perhaps you already have, that really moving yourself to a position where you feel more, not only more authenticity, but also a greater freedom as well. So you might have been a little bit rebellious as well. So that's Uranus in your first, and Uranus in your first is in a beautiful sextile to Saturn and Neptune here in your 11th house. So obviously, as you have been changing and transforming, also you probably will have your social circle will have changed, obviously, in response as well. So Saturn in your house of dreams, aspiration, social circle might have meant that some friends have you've moved away from. Perhaps you've met people that share your ideals, your vision, something about Neptune. But certainly as you have changed, which is only natural, as we change inside, what we attract, what we give out, who we meet also changes. So there could have been some big changes in your 11th house over the last few years. With Saturn there, you might have met, a mentor, a teacher, very authoritative, or perhaps you've had some hard lessons in terms of that in the 11th house, or you may have met some older friends as well. Or more mature friends could also be as well. So Saturn is here in your 11th house, is the ruler of Capricorn. So Saturn is means that, whatever changes that are happening in your 9th house are very likely come back to those themes of your social circle, your friends, your mentors, your allies, and also, your aspirations and dreams. So when we think about this, it could be that you've met some new group of friends and you're embarking on a trip together, just for example, or you go to university and meet a whole new social circle, those kind of things, or take a post overseas as take a job, or perhaps a teaching job overseas. And again, this is going to change your social circle as well, or perhaps your dreams. Anyway, just some ideas there. So for Capricorn, what else did I want to mention? You also have, being Taurus, I just wanted to mention too, earlier in the introduction, I really mentioned that Venus, Mars as well, but especially Venus as well. She had her rebirth, her Kazemi moment with the sun at the beginning of January. I think that was, off the top of my head, I think it was the 5th. And so really when Venus goes through that Kazemi, she is clarified in the heart of the sun, in its heat, in its light, and anything that is superfluous, anything that doesn't serve you anymore is burnt away. And what that leaves is a purified new Venus ready to move through the world with new desires or refined desires in terms of what she wants in life, in terms of her relationships. Having had that Kazemi in Capricorn, it really lends her that idea of long-term desires that are going to bring her security okay, in the long term as well. And that could certainly be in terms of relationships, the desire for somebody who is more mature, somebody who can bring the structure and bring the protection as well. So there's a real practicality there. And so, being the ruler of your first house is again, this clarified Venus means that it is extremely personal for you as well, in that sense of, how you show up to the world as well, and your inner life as well. There, what else? Okay, so Venus, at the time that this new moon seeds, she's already moved into Aquarius. So she's moved into your 10th house. Now, Pluto's been shaking things up in your 10th house for quite some time now. I'm sorry, I don't have the exact dates on me. And so Pluto is death, rebirth. He's going to be in there for a long time, many, many years. And so this is really, over the next 20 years or so, is really going to bring transformation to your public self, your career, your work, your reputation, and what it is that you contribute, give, or share, or show to the world. And Venus has popped in there during this new moon. And so she really arrives with these sort of new refined desires into your career house. So, there could be some new beginnings, some new relationships, some new desires in terms of what it is that you want out of your career or your job. And soon after this new moon, you'll find that all of those planets, obviously the moon first, just after it seeds, and then after that you'll have the sun, and then Mercury, and then Mars, all coming through, meeting Pluto, Lord of the Underworld, to have sort of a very brief but transformative meeting as they move into your 10th house. So end of February, early March, expect some, some really great focus on your 10th house, your career. So it's going to be busy. All right. And I think that's all I wanted to mention. Just to note that obviously any sort of changes that are being initiated by this new moon, they may not be clearly visible or manifest in a very public way until mid to late March, because that is when those personal planets of Mars, Mercury, and Venus become visible in the sky again, meaning that they are approximately 15 or more, just over 15 degrees away by orb to the sun, and they suddenly become visible again in the dark sky. So we say that the changes that you are making now, or the seeds that are being laid, you might not see great manifestation or certainly obvious developments until mid to late March. All right, Taurus, thank you very much, and I look forward to speaking to you at the next horoscope. All right, thank you. Okay, Gemini. So let's have a look at your chart and what this new moon means for you. So you can see that the new moon is in your Capricorn house, which is your 8th house. And you can see that the moon here is conjunct the sun, which it always is at a new moon. You've got the asteroid Astraea there, and you've got Mercury, and you've got Mars. So it's a full house. I'm calling it the moon and her assembly. And so this comes in the wake of a very powerful and unusual sort of dual rebirth of Venus and Mars. So they both recently had an extended triple conjunction with the sun, and then Venus went through the heart of the sun, which is called a cazimi. And when a planet moves through the heart of the sun, we say that it is clarified. Anything that no longer serves us is stripped away. And so Venus comes out of this cazimi reclarified, new desires or refined desires. And especially since it's in Capricorn, new desires that are based on more practical leanings, certainly more of an emphasis on long term, on, you know, legacy. So what relationships are going to last, what things in my life, it could be finances, it could be all the things that are Venus related in terms of aesthetics and beauty, harmony, a reset in Capricorn. And then Mars as well, shortly after, Mars went through the Cazimi as well, and was also clarified in the Sun, with new drive, new desires, new willpower, but an unusually more constructive, and certainly having that drive and willpower for attaining something long term. So in that sense, it gives this moon a lot of punch, a lot of sort of, what do you call it, fuel in the tank. And you've got Mercury here as well. With Mercury in Capricorn is very strategic, very good at planning, very practical, very authoritative, very serious. Astraea, the comet here, the goddess of justice, reminding you to build with integrity, to make sure that all your actions are integrous. And the moon here in Capricorn looking for security, again, protection, structures that are going to allow her to feel emotionally secure and safe as well. And the Sun and Mercury very concerned with material security, with legacy, giving you that new sense of purpose and drive in that Capricorn house. And so we have, so you're moving into this, or this new moon signifies new desires, new willpower, new drive, new direction. And it is ruled by Capricorn, and Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is sitting here in your 10th house. And so Saturn and Neptune have been moving through your house for quite some years. Saturn has been moving through there since March of 2023, Neptune much longer, since 2011. April 2011. And so in your 10th house, this is your very public house here. This is the house of career, public actions, public reputation. They've probably been bringing some big lessons in holding your ideals, or holding on to your ideals, but also making sure that you are grounded and practical and realistic as well. You might have had a few moments of disillusion, disappointments, and roadblocks and difficulties that you've had to overcome. And Saturn's lessons here are certainly about perseverance, about patience, about, wisdom as well. And so Saturn being the ruler here of this new moon in your 8th house is really making sure that the wisdom is coming into those 8th house topics. And those 8th house topics are, the 8th house is the house of other people's money, other people's resources, or it can be, resources that are shared with others. So we're talking, it could be money that is shared with a business partner, or money that's shared with a spouse, or your spouse's money. It could be family money as well. So when I say family money, I'm not talking about, the family money necessarily that's just yours, that's more sort of the 2nd house. The 8th house is more like maybe that you have a family that has a business, or it's your parents' money, especially when you're older and you moved out, and it could be, family money. It can be taxes, it can be investments, it can be loans, it can be debt as well. It's also the house of soul contracts, karmic debts that we have with certain people in our life. It's also the house of endings and death as well. Interesting, isn't it? You got death and taxes in the same house of the 8th. More modern astrology has brought other meanings to this house, such as, psychology, taboo subjects as well. And obviously these topics are quite heavy topics, right? So it's also associated with sort of anxiety as well. So new beginnings here, but with harmonious support from your career sector here for your public life, meaning that, I think that some of the wisdom that you've some of the wisdom that you've gained from these transits here from Neptune and from Saturn is really giving you the strength and giving you the structure and the direction and also the belief, I think, to make these changes in the 8th house of Capricorn. Interestingly, too, you've had Jupiter in the opposite house, your second house of livelihood. So your second house is your house of yours alone. So your resources, your livelihood, it's about how you make money. More modern significations, it's about value. So we often say it's about how you value yourself. Some people say it's also family, meaning, how you are supported, the food that you put in your mouth, all that sort of stuff. But I think if we go back to the core traditional value, it's really about your resources, your money, your material security, and how you basically look after yourself, how you survive. How do you make sure that you have everything you need in the world? So you can see that there's a very interesting opposition here, certainly not directly by degree, but certainly by whole sign house. You have the support, the expansion, the blessings from Jupiter here to make sure that, you are nurturing, protecting yourself, perhaps your family as well. I'm talking about your immediate family, if you have a family, if you have, a partner or children. And making sure that, this is providing you nurturance and support while you make these changes here in the 8th house. On top of that, you've also got sort of like the wild card. You've got Uranus here in your 12th house. Uranus has been going through your 12th house of, I'll just say how long it's been in there first. So Uranus has been in there since May of 2018. Uranus is great awakener. Uranus represents sudden breakthroughs, unexpected events. Uranus forces change. Uranus forces you to be authentic. And if you're resisting change that needs to happen, if you're living inauthentically in any way, if there's things that you are trying to avoid that are not serving you, Uranus comes in and kind of smashes everything up with a sudden event, sometimes events that are not very pleasant subjectively, sometimes quite shocking. So with having been in your 12th house for such a long time, reflect on how you've changed in terms of your inner mind, your inner psyche, any traumas, past events that you're holding on to, basically things that are holding you back, self-limiting beliefs, any sort of, I've got to stop saying sort of, don't I realize, any habits that are, typically it could be drinking or any sort of thing that you indulge in that is actually not working for you ultimately. And so Uranus has really been asking you all this time and will up until April of this year to make those changes in your inner world. And, the 12th house is tough. Don't be afraid to get support, do the spiritual work, put some good structures in place, get some counseling if that's something that, you need. But here in Uranus, I think with any sort of the changes that have happened in the 12th, these are now providing support via trine to not only your career here, in a harmonious sextile, but also in a beautiful benefic trine, okay? Because trines are of the nature of Jupiter. So bringing maybe unexpected innovations, changes, breakthroughs suddenly to these 8th house situations or topics that you have. So this is a wonderful time to really put some good structures in this 8th house. You might get some breaks, you might get some opportunities to really build something here that's going to last. that's going to be supported by and supportive of your, your career or public ambitions, and also still supported here by Jupiter in your house of finances. So it's a wonderful opportunity for change, following your vision, your new desires with Venus as well. And then shortly after that, all those planets are going to be moving into your ninth house, all first meeting meeting Pluto. So there's going to be shortly a very big focus at the end of February, early March, on your ninth house. So we'll talk about that later, but your ninth house is expanding your horizons, higher mind, higher beliefs, all of those things. Okay. Oh, just another thing, you might not overtly see these changes sort of come into full manifestation until mid to late March, when all the planets come out of the beams of the sun and become visible in the night sky again. All right, Taurus, it's all right, Gemini, all the best, and I'll speak to you at my next video. All right, thanks. Okay, so let's look at Cancer. So Cancer, this new moon happens in your seventh house. And so there is the moon here and the sun together as they are in a new moon. We've got Astraea, the comet, asteroid, and you've got Mercury and you've got Mars, all sitting in your house of the other. This is the house of committed relationships. It can be romantic partners, committed partners, or perhaps a business partner as well. And so this moon represents new beginnings in this sphere of your life. And going through each of them here, you've got the sun bringing a new will, new desire, new direction, new purpose. You've got the moon, your ruler, wanting emotional security, protection, and nurturance through long-term structural security in a partner. And you've got asteroid Astraea asking for integrity and justice and truth within all anything that you do or anything that your partner does as well in terms of your relationship. And you've got Mercury here as well, being very strategic and very logical, very serious, very authoritative as well. And you've got Mars exalted in Capricorn and full of drive for the long term to achieve those goals. So when we're looking at the seventh house, this often represents your partner themselves, or we can see it as if you're single in terms of what it is that you're looking for in a relationship. But this could be looking at new beginnings for your partner or in your partnership. So new initiations, new beginnings in terms of building something, building structure and foundations for a new vision, new goals. So this also comes on the heels of the rebirth of Mars in Capricorn as well, and Venus now in Aquarius. You can see Venus there. And so they both went through a really remarkable dual cazimi in the midst of a long triple conjunction with the sun in Capricorn at the beginning of December. So we say, so they are being clarified at the heart of the sun, in the divine heat and light of the sun, and Venus is now has renewed desires in terms of relationships. Anything superfluous or something that is no longer relevant or for your higher good has been burnt away, and Mars as well with new direction, new drive. So this is a really strong, auspicious new moon in your seventh house, which is what we say an angular house as well. So really significant for you. And you've had, if we look at this, you've had Jupiter here in your first house for some time, I think since June of 2025, really bringing expansions, blessings, growth to you personally in terms of your mind, your body, your emotions, your character, what it is that you show to the world. And Jupiter will be there up until, I think it is about to almost at the beginning of August of this year. So you've still got a lot of expansion and growth in this area. And so Jupiter here in your first house has really been asking you to grow in terms of building or strengthening your ties to your family, to really understanding what it is that you need as a person, as an individual, that helps you to have that emotional security that you need, and perhaps asking you to redraw some boundaries in terms of, yourself and the other. So how you show up in relationships, what you bring to the relationship, what you hold for yourself in relationships, that give and take has probably expanded and grown with new sort of awareness in this area as well. The new moon in your relationship house is ruled by Capricorn, and obviously Capricorn is about material security and legacy, long-term goals, and it is being ruled by Saturn here. So Saturn, the hard taskmaster, is sitting in your ninth house, and he has been there since March 2023, and is at the moment conjunct Neptune, which has been there since April 2011. So they've really been shaking up your ninth house of, your higher beliefs, your higher mind, your spiritual beliefs, religion. It could be, your studies as well. So university studies, it could be foreign travel, foreign cultures as well. So all these themes are in a sextile to this new moon. So for any single Cancerians out there, this could be new beginnings where you meet potentially a new partner, but where you meet people from a different culture. It could be that you're on a trip somewhere. But really that Saturn and Neptune has really been asking you to find a balance between your ideals, your higher beliefs, your spirituality, whilst also being grounded as well in terms of practicality, strategy, and having strong foundations in this area as well. So interesting that you have that ninth house, seventh house link. For your partner as well, it could mean that your partner is taking up a new position, a new job, a new role, perhaps overseas, or that, that they are embarking on something new involving studies, new philosophies. So you have that beautiful support from Neptune and Saturn from your ninth house. You also have Uranus sitting here in your 11th house. It's been shaking up your 11th house, transforming your 11th house through sort of disruptions, revolutions, sudden events, breakthroughs, rebellion perhaps, in your house of your social circle, your allies, your mentors, your aspirations in life. And so with this Uranian element, you can see that Uranus is sextile to your Neptune and your Saturn here in your ninth house, and Uranus is in a trine to this new moon. Expect that there could be some sudden, and these are very sort of harmonious and supportive angles as well from Uranus. So expect some sudden unexpected events, sudden breakthroughs, sudden innovations, and certainly there could be a flavor of really wanting to express yourself more authentically, or perhaps for your partner, or certainly within that relationship, and perhaps making some changes that allow greater freedom as well, for your partner or for you as well. So that's with the Uranus influence. And also Jupiter here that I was talking about in your first house is in a beautiful sextile to Uranus and in a beautiful by whole sign house, I should say, and also in a beautiful trine to Neptune and Saturn in your ninth house as well. So, there's wonderful, and Jupiter is exalted here in Cancer. So there's some beautiful blessings and support and nurturance from Cancer in all of those aspects, certainly in terms of you and how you show up in relationships, and certainly for some of the structures that you've built in terms of you're broadening your horizons, broadening your mind, your values, your beliefs in the world, and then how that relates back to your partner. So some really auspicious alignments as well. And so this new moon, after it seeds, you'll find that Venus, sorry, just coming back. So Venus moved into Aquarius on the 17th. And so Venus has moved into your 8th house of shared resources, karmic connections, other people's resources, endings, possibly deaths sometimes. I'm not saying that's what's coming up. I'm just saying that it's the themes of the house. So Venus is bringing harmony into this house or to this area. But just initially when Venus moves into that 8th house, she meets Pluto briefly for about 5 days. So there'll be this sort of great intensity to relationships, to your feelings, initially from about the 17th to the 22nd. And then after that, when the new moon sets on the 19th, you'll find that just, only a few hours afterwards, the moon follows Venus into Aquarius, meets Pluto, and travels through your 8th house over the next couple of days. And then you also have after that, you have the sun moving into Aquarius, followed by Mercury, and then eventually Mars. I think that's up to about the 25th, if I remember right. So soon after this new beginning in your house of relationships or other, there's going to be a real shift and a real focus onto those 8th house topics as well. And very interestingly, each planet having its sort of powerful meeting with Pluto, being briefly transformed by their meeting with Pluto, who's, in your Aquarius house for, close to 20 years or so. I don't have the exact years or numbers in my head at the moment, but some really big transformative changes in this area over the next 20 years or so for you. So any of these sort of new seedings, initiations or beginnings that are now laid in terms of for your partner or with your partner, they may not see their full sort of physical manifestation or public manifestation until mid to late March, when when Venus, Mars, and Mercury are all clear from the sun, meaning they're no longer under the beams of the sun, and they'll be visible in the nighttime sky again. Okay, I think that's all I wanted to say. All the best, Cancer, and I'll talk to you next time. Okay, all right. So we move on to Leo. Leo, I am a Leo rising as well. So for Leos, this has probably been, if you're anything like me, this has really been a quite momentous times, going back to Mars's retrograde, very extended stay in Cancer, going back to I think it was September 2024. And it retrograde out, went back in again, and it didn't actually finally leave our 12th house until April 2025. So, for me, I found during this time there was a lot of challenging inner work to do. 12th house representing our sort of our inner psyche, our inner mind. It's the house of a lot of things, subconsciousness, a lot of things that we are unaware of, self-limiting beliefs or behaviors that can really be detrimental to us. It's often called the house of self-undoing. So really, if you're anything like me, there were some big sort of changes that were instigated, certainly with Mars in there. And then after Mars had kind of gone in and sort of broken up the place, like, like some aggressive person in a bar, smashed everything up. Thank goodness, then Jupiter came in June of I think I'm just trying to remember. Yeah, June 2025 to bring its beautiful, it's exalted here in Cancer, beautiful blessings, expansion, sort of healing into that Cancer area. So it's just been lovely having Jupiter here in our 12th house to really tie up some of those sorrows, traumas, anything that we kind of carry, sort of bring us healing and spiritual liberation. And she still, or Jupiter still hasn't finished. Jupiter will be there, won't move into our first house, woohoo, until I think it's August 2026. I think I wrote that down. It moves into Leo, into our Leo house. Yeah, I think I've got that date wrong. I'll double check, but I think it's second half of, definitely second half of 2026. I'll have a look at that in a moment. This new moon is happening in our 6th house. And so the 6th house with Capricorn is really about how we look after ourselves, how we keep our lives running. It's about what we put in our mouths, when we go and do our shopping, how we pay our bills. It's the day-to-day service that we put in at work. It is it can be the house of physical health as well, or illness. And so really this is about new beginnings in your routines, your day-to-day lifestyle that's really going to support your physical health and your mental well-being as well. And it's about service and responsibility, especially here in Capricorn. It's about being responsible, making sure that we are showing up to do all the things that need to be done, life admin, basically. And it's such an important house. Obviously it's not very glamorous, the 6th house, but it is like an important part of the engine. And so when we get our 6th house in good working order, it's really going to support all the other aspirations that we have in our life. And this new moon, it's pretty full. You've got the new moon here in conjunct the sun. So the sun is bringing us new willpower, purpose, direction, to build a legacy, to build something that we want in the long term. Venus recently rebirthed in her Kazemi. She was in the heart of the sun, meaning that she now comes out with her desires clarified and refined, perhaps some new desires as well, in terms of what we want in the long term, what we want from a partner, what we think we desire, what we think is beautiful. It can also be our values, what we value. It can be money. So Venus comes out of this Kazemi that happened in Capricorn. So she's got long-term, she's looking at the long term, she's looking for structure, she's looking for stability. She's just moved into Aquarius here, into our relationship house, and she just has gone straight into a conjunction with Pluto. So from that time period, from about the 17th to the 20th, for about 5 days, there'll be a real intensity when she fuses with Pluto. Think of intensity, that real drive to really go to the heart of human experience in terms of emotions and feelings and connections. So very transformative, very powerful. Obviously, just watch for the shadow side of Pluto can be obsessiveness or power struggles. So just be aware of that. But it is just a very short sort of conjunction and influence that Venus has there with Pluto, but still certainly noteworthy. So Venus brings those new desires into these sixth house areas, and you've got the moon in here wanting to have that your ruler. Sorry, not your ruler. You've got the sun here, your ruler, our ruler, bringing new desire, purposes, so willpower, purpose, and direction. You've got the moon here wanting to have that emotional security through material security, through structure, through sort of stable protection. And you've got Astraea here asking you to do everything with integrity, with purity. You've got Mercury here. Mercury is thinking strategically. Mercury is planning, providing sober, serious thinking and intent, and also really helping us to structure this sixth house. And then we've got, thank goodness, we've got an exalted Mars here, really giving us that drive to ensure that these new goals born in the sixth house are going to come to fruition. So Mars here gives us the perseverance, the drive to keep going, okay, which is really, really beautiful. So the new moon here, obviously it's ruled by Capricorn, and the ruler of Capricorn is Saturn. Saturn is sitting here in the 8th house together with Neptune. And the 8th house is the house of our karmic entanglements with people. It is our soul contracts. It is other people's or shared resources. It can be tax, debt, investments. It's also the house of death and endings as well. And so this has been quite, I'm sure I don't speak just for myself, this has been really challenging for Leos, I think, having these planets move through the 8th, especially Saturn. So it has really brought lessons in being strong, being able to overcome obstacles, taking responsibility in these areas, not being naive, not being disillusioned, but at the same time, still holding our faith, still holding our idealism, our spirituality, our connection to people. So finding that balance between being connected, but also drawing those boundaries in these 8th house areas, very, very important. And certainly that's something that I have been dealing with since Saturn came into the 8th house Pisces, which was March of 2023. So they're about to leave. Neptune very shortly, Saturn also, and they will meet at 0 degrees. That will be a separate video on February the 14th in Aries. So these lessons are coming to an end. And certainly when I look back on them, they have been extremely challenging for me. But at the same time, when I look objectively about how I've grown, how much stronger I am, how I've learned to deal with ups and downs a lot better. I think the wisdom gained as well. You can see that again, that it has been a very fruitful, important time. So expect, these new moon initiations, certainly in the 6th house, the new routines that you're putting in to support yourself, the new beginnings here, and that could also relate to physical health, but it can also be with co-workers as well. So sort of your work environment, new beginnings in those areas. And again, that's certainly true for me as well. And then how that impacts on any of those sort of karmic connections or responsibilities or duties, shared resources that you have in that 8th house as well. On top of that, we have had Uranus moving through our 10th house for many years, going back to May 2018. And certainly, if you look back on, how you've been showing up publicly through your career, through your job, your reputation, and what it is that you bring to the world in the last 8 years, you could certainly see that there have been some really, really big changes. Certainly for me, I have changed sectors, and now I'm about to move into a new career era as well. And so, although it hasn't come to fruition totally, it's basically my desires and my willpower to achieve these new career goals have now solidified, and I've started to make slow but very discernible choices and changes in my decision, and I've manifested events towards getting to where I want to get to. And I know that the goal is going to not be easy to attain, and that it's going to take, Saturn here, patience, perseverance, setbacks. But you need to hold that vision, that ideal. Venus here helping us with that new powerful desires. So I think that's really important. And with the healing that Jupiter has brought in that Cancer house, really giving us that stronger inner strength and belief in ourselves as well. And so expect unexpected breakthroughs or events in relation to your career house as well with this new moon. So think there might be unexpected offers, so Uranus is obviously in a beautiful trine to this moon. Uranus is sextile to both Neptune and Saturn. So, Uranus is bringing transformation, breakthroughs, innovation, the real drive to be authentic, to strive for more freedom. And so I think, thank goodness, the lessons of Saturn here are here to sort of mitigate or those sort of really strong Uranian drives sometimes just to cut and run, or not run, but to cut and that impatience just to make something happen, or just to, bring that change now. That can, especially for some people, I don't know about you, but for me, I've got Uranus sitting on my ascendant as well. So again, important to know where your personal planets are, because when the outer planets especially are hitting any of your really sensitive personal planets or any other important points in your chart, they can really bring extra significance to events as well. I think, is that all I wanted to mention? So yeah, beautiful, this is kind of what we call some people call it a mini grand trine, but what it means is that you've got the sextile here, and then a beautiful trine here. So it forms a beautiful triangle, which is really supportive between changes in your lifestyle, your routines, your day-to-day work environment, and your career, where you're heading, as well as your duty, commitments, connections, any endings that might be happening in your 8th house. Okay, I think I've gone on long enough. Just one more thing. So all those planets will follow Venus into our house of committed relationships or other. They'll all have a brief meeting with Jupiter. And so really by the end of February, early March, there's going to be a very big focus on our relationship house, our committed relationship house. Obviously, we'll talk about that in the next moon report. And also just to be aware, some of these initiations, certainly you might have started making changes to enable your goals already. And certainly you might feel that change within yourself, in your drive, your passions, your commitment, your willpower, what it is that you really want to achieve, probably with greater self what do you call it, with greater authenticity and self-expression. But just be aware that until those the personal planets of Mercury, Venus, and Mars are out of the sun's beams, meaning that they are visible again in the night sky, that will, this will mean that some of those manifestations of the changes that you are enacting might not be visible, or probably won't be visible until mid to late March, when you really they'll start being publicly visible. All right, Leo, all the best. I look forward to talking to you next time. Thank you. Okay. Okay, Virgo, I'm just going to have a quick sip of water. So, Virgo, this new moon is happening in your fifth house. So, a really beautiful place to have this new moon. The fifth house is the house of joy, where Venus rejoices. And Venus actually just very recently had her Cazimi moment in your fifth house, where she rejoices in Capricorn, where her desires were reborn or reclarified or refined in the heart of the sun. So really beautiful for you in your fifth house, where your fifth house is your house of what brings you pleasure, what brings you joy. It's the house of creativity and pleasurable activities. It can be, that can be activities that you're enjoying, like a hobby, or it could be some sort of artistic endeavor or crafty endeavor. It could be, a small, doesn't have to be small, but a creative venture, basically, whether it's a hobby or whether it's a business that you've set up or setting up. It's the house of romance. It's the house of children. And yeah, so it's a really beautiful house, and it's such a great big focus here. You've got the moon together with the sun. So sun bringing real purpose, direction, and willpower to these new beginnings of this new moon. The moon looking for emotional security through your creative endeavors, pleasurable endeavors that will bring long-term benefits as well. So with the fifth house here, especially for you, Virgo, being in Capricorn, although, it's all about joy and pleasure, there is a certain amount of practicality and wanting to see results, because it is Capricorn and being a Saturn-ruled sign. So Venus looking for emotional security through self-expression that brings results and goals and protection as well. Astraea asking you to do everything with integrity and purity of heart, which is beautiful for you, Virgo. And actually, if you listen to my introduction, I love this. So Astraea is an asteroid, but Astraea in Greek mythology basically is she was the goddess of justice, or the star maiden, and she lived amongst the people during the golden age. This is the mythology, and she became really sad and sorrowful because mankind had become really cruel and really corrupted, and so she decided to leave the earth, and she went to live amongst the immortals, amongst the stars in the sky, and she became part of that. She became part of the constellation of Virgo, and she's associated with the scales of justice, and they became part of the Libran zodiac as well. So really beautiful, and I think especially for you, Virgos. By the way, I'm a Virgo sun. So I know the Virgo energy very intimately, but it's just a beautiful, I think, symbol for Virgos as well. And then you have your ruler Mercury as well sitting here. So just beautiful. Mercury is very practical, strategic, serious, gives you the ability to communicate with greater authority as well. And then you have Mars. Mars was also reborn in the heart of the sun, beginning of January. And in Capricorn, Mars is exalted, very, very driven, very constructive, ready to persist and work hard for long term. So yeah, beautiful beginnings here, Virgo. And because it is the ruler of the house, well, because it is, I was going to say, because Mercury is a ruler of the first house, there's a real connection here in terms of your personal inner development as well, in terms of what you show to the world and how, your character and your mind and your sense of self as well. So it's about you really discovering a bit more about, what really makes me happy, what brings me joy, what I want to build in that sense. And so Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn has been shaking up your seventh house of committed relationships, especially because you had a while back you had some eclipses there as well. So Neptune's been in there since 2011, I think April. Yeah. Saturn has been in there since March of 2023. And so Saturn is the taskmaster. Saturn is really brought lessons in boundaries, structure, obstacles, setbacks, in being patient, in being mature. And you've got Neptune there. Neptune is beautiful. Neptune is about higher connections with everybody, and especially sitting here in Pisces, which is about connection and boundlessness, just like water. Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces. Obviously, I don't work with that. I work with Jupiter as being the ruler, but it's just beautiful in the sense that, Neptune brings idealism, higher visions, a real connection to beauty and idealism. And then you've got Saturn here. The downside of Neptune is that it can be disillusionment. It can be being sacrificing the self in the sense. It can be about not knowing where you finish and the other person begins in terms of relationships. So Saturn's really come in here and gone, okay, you need to have greater foundation and better independence and understanding of who you are, where you're going to draw the boundaries in relationships. What are you giving? What are you taking? And all of those things. So I think Saturn's really allowed you to better understand yourself in relationships. It might have caused the end of some of the relationships, or not caused, but, marked the end of relationships. And so the fact that, that the ruler of this new moon in Capricorn is sitting in your seventh house means that the new beginnings in your fifth house, and again, this could be just to remind you, children, self-expression, creativity, all things that bring you pleasure and joy, happiness, are in some way connected to your house of partnership. It could be your actual partner as well, providing that beautiful structure and support, or it could be just how you approach relationships, how you see relationships. Certainly if you're single, it could be, again, how you see the other, what you're looking for, how you interact with the concept of having a partner, committed partner. So there's a beautiful tie there between the fifth house and the seventh house. And then you also have Uranus is a big player. So Uranus is the planets moving through Capricorn have been making, and at this stage, Mercury not yet, but they're going into trines as they pass through Capricorn. They're all trining Uranus. Trine is a benefic alignment that brings support. It's said to be of the nature of Jupiter. So Uranus is the great awakener. Uranus is the great liberator. So Uranus comes in and basically says, if you're not being authentic, if you're not following the path that's true to you or to your own goals, it will create sudden events that can be quite shocking, quite surprising, completely unexpected, and put you on the right path. So you probably found with it having been in your 9th house now for close to 8 years that it's really brought changes in how you relate to how you see your place in the world. So 9th house is higher beliefs, higher learnings, religion, philosophy, distant countries, foreign cultures. And so you might really have found that there have been, if you look back on the 8 years, some really big changes in what you believe in, your place in the world and what's out there, and your, so really sort of existential thoughts as well. And so there is this beautiful there is a triangle. You've got Uranus trining this new moon. You've got a sextile here to Neptune and Saturn, and then another sextile. So you can see that it forms a triangle, and it's not a grand trine. It's what we call a mini grand trine, but it still offers great structure and stability. But it really does mean that these events, in terms of new beginnings in your 5th house, its relationship, its connection to your relationships, or how you see relationships, is colored by Uranus's influence. So I would say expect some sudden changes, unexpected events, breakthroughs, in terms that are ultimately positive. Okay. It could be sudden. I mean, just for example, there are so many possible delineations, and without looking at somebody's chart, it's hard to be more specific. But just to give you an example, it could be a sudden breakthrough and a decision to decide that you want to go back to uni. Okay. Or that you suddenly decided you want to go on a trip overseas. It could be that your partner has suddenly got a posting overseas and their job's shifting them over there. I mean, there's all sorts of possibilities, but yeah, certainly beautiful times, a lot of change, and obviously, but for certain signs, it can be harder to deal with, or accept change with grace. So I think, but when you are Virgo, you are a mutable sign, so you are better able to move with those changes. Certainly Capricorn it's a sign that is a cardinal sign, so it has great impetus to begin things, to move, to change. And also with Jupiter having been up here, Jupiter has been in your 11th house of social circle, relationships, aspirations, mentors for some time now. And Jupiter also providing beautiful sextile by sign, and a beautiful trine by sign to Neptune and Saturn, which are sitting in Jupiter sign. Jupiter is exalted here, making sure that you have that beautiful support from your friends, from your social circle, and really kind of providing blessings for all these changes. So I think that's what I want to say. Virgo, I hope you, I hope I hope you're well. That's all I'm going to say. I hope everything goes well for you. I think some really big change and growth for you. So wonderful stuff. Okay, Virgo, I'll talk to you next time at my next video. Thanks. Okay, Libra. So this new moon is happening in your 4th house. And the 4th house is your house of home, your house of family. It's your personal inner sanctuary. It can be related to ancestry, ancestral lands, family property, all of those things. And this is very significant for you because it's an angular house. We say in astrology that the first, the 7th, the 10th, and the 4th are all angular houses, and they're kind of like the structure of your chart. And so these changes in Capricorn are new beginnings in your house, in terms of how to making it a place of security. And it's so interesting with the fourth house too, because obviously the fourth house is emotional security, because it's our inner world, right? It's where we go to rest and have privacy and safety and comfort. But also with a Capricorn fourth house, there's that element of really needing to be the master of your domain as well. So making sure that your home is structured, that you have material security as well. So you have the sun in here bringing purpose, direction to your fourth house situation. You've got the moon asking that you have emotional safety and protection and nurturing within your home environment as well. Astraea asking you to have purity and integrity in everything that you do related to this area of your life. You've got Mercury as well, being very strategic and sober as well, holding a lot of authority in Capricorn as well, or communicating with authority. And you've got Mars exalted in your fourth house of family. So Mars here is newly has newly been reborn in the heart of the sun. Both Mars and Venus had a cazimi, meaning that they met the sun, they were in the heart of the sun, and they are purified by, and what we say, reset by the heat and the light, the divine light of the sun. And so when they come out from that meeting with the sun, they have, so for Mars has refined or new intentions, directions, drive to achieve. And beautifully in Capricorn, Mars is exalted. So some of the more destructive tendencies of Mars are channeled into more constructive and long-term goals. And so Mars is giving you the energy and the drive and the long-term stamina here. And Venus in Aquarius is reborn with new desires. So Venus has moved into your beautiful fifth house. So Venus here is exalted. She moves into the fifth house, and from, she was reborn in Capricorn. So those new desires is Venus represents relationships, harmony, how we value ourselves, our possessions. It's obviously about pleasure, beauty, aesthetics. And so she's really coming into this new moon, although she's not part of the actual assembly of the new moon. She has been reclarified with desire for example, more Capricornian flavor. So she's looking for relationships that are going to last, relationships that are going to support her in the long term, and desires for goals that are going to support her legacy. Okay, so it's a beautiful time. And Venus moves into Aquarius from the 17th, where she meets Pluto straight away. So Pluto is really over the next 20 years or so is transforming what it is that you what brings you joy. It's about yourself, authenticity, and expressing it in a way, in activities, in a way that brings you happiness, joy, and pleasure. Basically, it's the house of creativity. It's the house of romance. It's the house of children as well. So when she first meets Pluto there for about a window of about 5 days, she's going to be incredibly intense. So emotions are intense. Relationships will be sort of full of power and intensity. And it's only a brief time, but that sort of Venus is already reborn. So it is quite a sort of briefly transformative time where you might get great insight. Have that drive to really get to the core of an experience of emotions and relationships. And just watch for, it's only brief, but that sort of shadow energy of power struggles or sort of obsessive obsessiveness as well. So the new moon comes, in the wake of that new drive, direction, and desires. And in your fourth house, it is ruled by Saturn. So Libra Saturn is no, what do you call it? Is no stranger to you. So Saturn is, it is exalted in Libra. So it's your exaltation ruler. And so that energy is familiar to you, and you are used to working with that Saturnian energy of, structure, patience, responsibility, having that, being able to overcome obstacles or difficulties, accepting those sort of Saturnian, often hard lessons with grace, as an opportunity to grow. And so when you think about this, Saturn your exaltation rule has been sitting in your sixth house for some time, since 2023, March 2023, and Neptune's been in there since April 2011. And this is, sixth house can be a bit of a challenging house. So sixth house is a house of responsibility. It's about service. It's about health or ill health, and so the sixth house is really about how do you support your physical existence in this world. And that means it's life admin, paying bills, shopping. It's, your diet, how you look after yourself, how much you sleep, how much you exercise. It is very service related as well. So it's often about our work environment. And so with Saturn there, it's really been asking you to take on a lot of responsibility. There's probably been a lot of hard work. Neptune there providing the ideal, looking for that connection as well. But Saturn and perhaps, a certain lack of boundaries as well within that sixth house environment. Saturn's come in there and really help to balance you in that sense of knowing how to balance idealism, sometimes possibly escapism with Neptune, with structure, routine, responsibility within that sixth house environment. And so that's really given you a lot of wisdom. And that wisdom from that sixth house environment is tied to this new moon in terms of, the fourth house can also be parents as well. So relationship to parents. So, in terms of making and shaping your home environment, perhaps your relationship to your parents as well, in a way that is really going to allow you to feel safe through a structure that is sustainable. Okay. And in addition to that, you've got Uranus. So there's a lot of Uranian flavor to this, this time, and certainly this new moon. All of those planets that are in your fourth house in Capricorn have one by one going through a trine to Saturn. Now, Saturn has been shaking up your eighth house for the last 8 years. And just to remind you, the eighth house is the house of shared resources or other people's resources. It could be your spouse's money, sort of extended family money. It can be your karmic debts, complex soul connections that you have with people. There can be a sense of duty, obligation within there as well. It can be related to tax, debt, investments, inheritances as well. It's the house of endings and death as well, but figurative endings a lot of the time as well. And so Uranus has been going through there and basically asking you to have authenticity in all those areas. Uranus is called the Great Awakener. It creates shocks, surprises, unexpected events, breakthroughs. It creates the drive for rebellion, for freedom as well. And so Uranus here is in a trine to the new moon and her assembly. Uranus is in sextile to Neptune and Saturn in your sixth house. And so what it really forms is this very stable triangle okay, via harmonious alignment to the main players here. And that really means that, expect that there can be some sudden unexpected events or breakthroughs that are really going to help you on your way towards realizing or on your path towards realizing or manifesting the sort of long-term goal that you have for your home, your living environment. And of course, that can be physical house as well, like literally where you live as well. So yeah, that's really beautiful. You also have had Jupiter in your 10th house for some time since June of 2025. And Jupiter is the greater benefic. Jupiter is exalted in your in Cancer. So you've had this beautiful, expansive, benefic support and blessings from Jupiter here in your career house, in your public actions, in your public reputation. And, Jupiter here has really been, I guess, asking you, is your 10th, is your career, is your job, is your 10th, what you do in the public sphere, is it meeting your need for connection and nurturance, protection, in terms of what you actually do in your job. So beautiful here, and so Jupiter is in not by orb, but it is providing this beautiful sextile by sign and sextile by trine to your new moon as well. Sextile by sign to Uranus, trine to Neptune and Saturn, which is the ruler of Capricorn in your 4th house, and obviously in opposition as well to your 4th house. So there's been that real balance from you wanting to achieve, wanting to have legacy, but also wanting nurturance, connection, and having value in what you do in your job that you feel that you are helping or nurturing, helping people in your work life as well. And then you have that, needing to balance your home life and your career and work life as well. And so very soon after this new moon, you're going to have a really big focus on your 5th house. So we'll talk more about that in the next report. But soon after the moon seeds, the moon moves into Aquarius to meet Pluto, and will continue and move through over the next 2 or so days. Then you have the sun moving into your 5th, and then Mercury, and then eventually Mars as well. And so there'll be a really great focus on your, second half of February, early March, on your house of creativity, joy, and pleasure, with Venus there in her joy. So really beautiful times as well. Okay, just a last note that I've been telling all the signs. Those personal planets, Mars, Mercury, and Venus, will all be under the beams of the sun until mid to late March. That means that they won't be visible in the sky. And for ancient Hellenistic or ancient astrologers and Hellenistic astrologers, this really was a very, had an important meaning in that, the actions of the planets were not visible so until they can come out from the beams of the sun. So any changes that you sort of initiate or start putting into action now here in the 4th house, you might really wait till March, mid to late March, to really start seeing sort of them being actioned in sort of in a way that's sort of publicly visible as well. All right, lovely Libra. Thank you. I look forward to talking to you next time. Oh, I just wanted to add in, just before I get into Scorpio, hello Libra, I just wanted to add in before I move in, just how important this is to you as well, with Venus being reborn in the heart of the sun in Capricorn, that it has just this very strong personal connection to you, with Venus being your ruler. So in terms of the coming changes in the 5th house with Venus in there, there's really going to be a new sense of who you are personally and how you want to express yourself too. All right, just wanted to add that. Okay, thanks, Libra. Okay, hello, Scorpio. So, Scorpio, this new moon is happening in your third house. Um, so we are looking at new beginnings in your house in Capricorn, and the third house is the house of your local environment. It is the house of communication, of your community, your siblings, extended family, uncles and aunts. It is your neighbors. It is the people that you meet going down, down the local shop. It covers short trips. It is your mind and how you think. It can be spiritual, religious rites or practices that you observe from day to day. And it can also be communication in terms of writing or media as well. So new beginnings here in that Capricorn third house. And with Capricorn, we're very much, it concerns practical, long-term goals and security. The new moon here is really you planning some new initiations, some new beginnings in this area of your life. And this new moon, you've got the sun here giving you purpose and drive and willpower. You've got the moon looking for emotional security and protection as well through these new actions, drives, and goals. You've got Astraea asking you to make sure that you are, moving with intention and justice and purity. You've got Mercury here bringing strategic planning and communicating with authority, okay, and seriousness and purposefulness. You've got Mars newly reborn, and I'll talk about that in a sec. Mars here is exalted, newly reborn with refined and very strong drive, long-term drive, staying power, energy to achieve something for the long term. So a really beautiful new moon. So I mentioned Mars has been reborn. So it was very interesting. Going back to the beginning, I think it was 5th of December. At the very end of last year, the last 2 days, basically there was a triple conjunction between the Sun, Mercury, and the Sun, Venus, and Mars. And it was a really long triple conjunction. And within that triple conjunction, there was a dual cazimi between Venus and Mars. And so they both, one after the other, went through the heart of the sun. And this is called a cazimi. Symbolically, it's the beginning of a new cycle when a planet passes through the heart of the sun, a new synodic cycle. And it really means that we say that the planets are purified in the divine light and heat of the sun. And anything that is superfluous, anything that is not serving us or sustainable is burnt away from that planet. And so with Venus, at this time, she had that rebirth in Capricorn, meaning that her desires have been refined, reclarified for a desire for relationships, for pleasures, for material possessions, for harmony that will be long lasting, okay? That has structure, that brings stability and security. And so Venus has moved into your 4th house with after that cazimi, and Mars is sitting with the new moon as well, bringing really strong drive and being exalted. Mars is a lot more constructive here in Capricorn than it sometimes can be in other signs. So new beginnings here in your 3rd house. You have the ruler of this new moon and her assembly. So the ruler of Capricorn is Saturn. Saturn is sitting in your 5th house of joy. Fifth house is your house of joy, your house of creativity. It's the house of all pleasurable things. And so it's about self-expression. So it can be things that you do that bring you joy and pleasure. So that can be pastimes, hobbies, sports. It can be creative projects that you do, whether or not they are, a hobby or whether they are through some sort of business that you're running. It is the house of children. It is a house of romance. So Saturn and Neptune, they have really been over the last couple of years, Neptune since 2011 and Saturn since, let me have a look, since, March 2023 have been asking you to find a balance between what are your ideals, especially Neptune in a Pisces, asking for connection, for unity, for beauty, a higher vision, idealism, asking you to balance that with more practical, grounded concerns of Saturn in a lot of senses. So, it's having a dream, having a vision, but Saturn is saying, okay, do you have the structures in place to make those ideals workable? Neptune is boundaryless. Saturn is saying you need to have boundaries. Neptune can be disillusion or being not being able to see clearly. Saturn is wake up. You need to see the reality of the situation. You need to be practical, responsible, and work hard. So in that sense, your fifth house has really had a bit of a shake-up. But the new wisdom and hopefully the new balance that you've gained from these two planets transiting your fifth house, because they're about to leave very soon in the next couple of months or next month. Venus, Neptune leaving very shortly. 26th of January, and Saturn will join Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries, February 14. So hopefully the wisdom and that you've gained in terms of who you are, how you want to express yourself, what brings you pleasure, what brings you joy, is related to this new moon in the third house. So there are so many possible different delineations for this, but for example, this could be starting a new media project that involves communication, media, but that allows you to express yourself creatively, for example. So in the fifth house as well, it could be something related to your children, for example, and something in your local environment. So anyway, have a think about that. But the other thing that's really interesting is that you've got Uranus here sitting in your seventh house of committed relationships or the other. So Uranus has been shaking up your relationship house now for about 8 years. It's due to leave, I keep saying next year, but it's this year. We'll be leaving on, April 2026. And so if you look back on your relationships in the last 8 years, Uranus is a great awakener. Uranus asks you to be completely authentic. If you were in a relationship that was not allowing you to be authentic, it wasn't, the right one for you, if it wasn't allowing you that sense of freedom to be yourself, then Uranus will be the planet to come and break things up. So, it's about to leave, but it just probably means that for some Scorpios, if you were in a relationship that didn't allow you to be who you wanted to be or allow you the freedom, that probably would have perhaps ended or broken up. For those of you who, are in a relationship that is enduring, then perhaps there might have been some requirement to renegotiate, rebalance certain areas of your relationship to allow for that that greater authenticity and freedom for you as well. So these planets coming through your third house basically all going through a trine to Uranus. And so Uranus is sextile to the Saturn and Neptune in your fifth house. Uranus is trine with this. So these are all very supportive alignments. Is in a trine to your Capricorn here in your fourth house. So expect some breakthroughs, some innovations, some surprises. Certainly Uranus is very future thinking as well. So there could be something to do with new technology. But whatever it is that is happening here, the new beginning in your third house is connected somehow to your creativity, to what brings you joy, pleasure, a romance, if that blossoms as well, that asks you to be authentic. It will be sudden events or breakthroughs. It'll, allow you greater freedom. So it's a really beautiful thing. And for you, Scorpio. So I just want to mention too, with the third house here, with this Mars so incredibly strong in exalted in your Capricorn, very constructive. This is really good for you personally as well, with Mars being your ascendant ruler, Scorpio. So you might find around this time that you personally have a lot more drive, a lot more energy. Careful not to overwork yourself too much. You want to balance that in your first house. Make sure you're getting enough sleep, exercise, good food, looking after yourself. But you probably will be very, very driven, single-minded at the moment as well, working very hard. Meanwhile, yeah, I was just going to say here, I won't talk about it too much, but you've got Jupiter in your ninth house, which really has been expanding your horizons, your worldview, your beliefs. It could be Jupiter is very much related to learning and teaching and justice. So there could be areas where you've really grown since June of 2025. It could have involved, foreign cultures, travels overseas, studies in religion or religious beliefs as well. And so Venus here in Cancer is exalted. So also by sign, bringing great support and blessings from that ninth house, by sextile to Uranus in your house of relationships, and also by trine to Uranus and not Uranus to Saturn and Venus here by trine, and then in opposition as well to your third house. So learning to balance your local world, your local mind, with foreign horizons and your higher mind as well. Very, very interesting. Okay, and so I'm just about finished. I just want to mention that at the time of this new moon, Venus has moved into your fourth house of home on the 17th, where she will be transiting. For the first 5 days, she has a meeting with Pluto. Pluto bringing great intensity, depth of feeling, depth of experience to Venus and her desires. So for the first 5 days, and after that, Venus will be followed by the moon shortly after it seeds, and then, of course, the sun, Mercury, and then Mars all will move into your fourth house. So by the end of February, early March, there'll be a really great big focus on your home, your living situation, your family, your inner sanctuary, expect any changes that you are putting into place now in the third house, expect them to become really visible mid to end of March, when Venus, Mars, and Mercury all become visible and they come out from the beams of the sun. That's when you might actually start seeing some more sort of public physical manifestations of these changes. Okay, so All the best, Scorpio, and I look forward to talking to you for the next moon report. Thank you. Okay, Sagittarius. Hello, this new moon is happening in your second house. So this is the house of your material resources, your livelihood. It's basically how you make a living, how you make your money. In more modern astrology, it's also linked to your values, what you value, how you value yourself, and therefore what you think you deserve and what you draw in for yourself that has value. Some people also talk about it in terms of how you sustain yourself in this world. So some people also include food, but basically it's about your material resources, how you make money, and your livelihood. And in Capricorn, that means there's a really practical orientation to this. And so with the new moon happening here, there's a very strong focus on new beginnings in your material security and legacy. So this is about putting in place new intent, or having new intentions, new goals for how you make money in the world, how you support yourself. So you've got the new moon in here at 28 degrees 43 conjunct the sun, which it always is when it's a new moon. And you've got Astraea in here. Astraea is the goddess of justice. I mentioned her in the intro. So the asteroid is really, Astraea is talking about bringing in, however you make money, whatever you do, making sure that you build with integrity, okay, and justice and fairness, purity of heart. You have Mercury in here giving you strategic planning. Mercury here is very practical, communicates with authority. And then you have an exalted Mars in here in your second house, really giving you great drive, willpower to achieve long-term goals. And Mars here is particularly constructive in Capricorn. So new beginnings here in your second house. And this new moon, Capricorn, so all of these planets are, their host and their ruler for this event is Saturn. And Saturn is sitting here in your fourth house. So Saturn has been bringing growth, wisdom, and maturity to your house of home, your inner sanctuary, your family, or whoever you're living or sharing your living situation. It could be your parents as well. It could be your ancestral lands. And so Saturn, being the hard taskmaster, has really asked you to step up in terms of maturity and responsibility, being able to overcome difficulties and obstacles, just having that maturity to persevere when things get difficult. And with Neptune here since 2011, and Saturn has been there since 2023, Neptune in Pisces is very much about, universal collective unity and connection and harmony. There's no boundaries to Neptune. Neptune is idealistic. It's about beauty. It's about having vision. But, Neptune can also be, giving you illusions as well. And so Saturn, you might have had certain illusions that were not realistic, and Saturn came along and stomped on them. So, having those two together, traveling together for such a long time, they did leave for a while into your fifth house, returned. They're about to leave for good. Neptune, January 26th, Saturn on the 14th of February, they'll leave for good. But really think back on that time in terms of your house and home, where you find that inner security and safety and nurturance and comfort, or perhaps a relationship with parents. You've probably had to build new structures find new boundaries, holding the idealism of Neptune and what you wanted to build in your home or in your inner family, or, personal world, with being realistic. So Saturn, making you think about worldly things, obstacles, structure, foundations. How are you going to support this vision, this dream? So, it's really asked you to be able to balance that. So hopefully, the wisdom that you've gained in this fourth house is really strongly connected to this new moon in how you support yourself financially and materially. So there's a beautiful, sextile there. So a very harmonious connection that really invites you to seize opportunities. You've also got Uranus here in the sixth house. And, the last, it has a real Uranian flavor, because all these planets that are passing through the second house in Capricorn some of them already they're forming a trine as they pass through to Uranus. Uranus sitting here in your sixth house has been there for about 8 years. It will leave in April of 2026. And so Uranus is really all about being completely authentic. It's the great awakener, the great liberator. And Uranus basically says within your sixth house, and so your sixth house is sixth house is your house of service. It's your house of life admin, routines, that day-to-day routines that support you in your physical form in this world. So it's about, your lifestyle, making sure that you get enough exercise, eating the right foods, or whatever your diet is. It's about, paying bills, going shopping, cleaning the house. It's also can represent your work environment, so your work relationships as well. And it's really about responsibility and service. It is very much a focus on physical health. It can also represent pets as well, which is slightly more modern connection to that sixth house, but very much so. And so Uranus is coming through this part of your life and going, are you being authentic? Because if you're not being authentic, Uranus basically will bring change. And if you resist it, it'll often create sort of unexpected, shocking or surprising events that ultimately force you to change course or change direction to align more authentically to yourself. So Uranus here, and it also drives that freedom and liberation, innovation, future thinking as well. So Uranus here is in a sextile to Saturn and Neptune, and Saturn rules this Capricorn house. So it's in a sextile. It's in a trine to the new moon, which is beautiful. And then the Saturn, as I mentioned earlier, is in a sextile. So it forms this beautiful sort of stable triangle. It's not a full grand trine, but it is, some people call it a mini grand trine. But ultimately, it's a stable structure of support and stability. So I would expect, any sort of new visions, goals, aspirations that you are giving momentum to now in your second house of livelihood, material resources, is going to be peppered with Uranian themes. So expect sudden breakthroughs, expect surprising events, expect sudden innovation. You might have a real strong sense of really wanting, it could be rebellious energy of really wanting to achieve something, and a sense of really wanting freedom as well. Luckily, Saturn is there kind of going, whoa, that's great. You want the freedom, you want the authenticity, you want the breakthrough, but don't forget that everything you need to do has to be structured and supported practically in your material and certainly within your inner world as well. So a lovely connection there between your sixth house of routines, lifestyle, health and all those other things and service, to your second house of livelihood, material possessions, and your home as well. So beautiful, supportive connections there. Meanwhile, your ruler, Jupiter, has been going through your 8th house since June of 2025. Jupiter is about expansion, support, justice, growth, learning. And so you've really probably have been experiencing that in your 8th house of shared resources, karmic connections, other people's money. It can be investments, it can be inheritances, it can be endings and deaths. That is what the 8th house represents. It can also represent taxes as well, so your spouse's money. But the growth and the support and learning that's happening in this 8th house area is in a beautiful alignment as well. So you've got this exalted Jupiter providing a sextile by sign, not by orb, and also a sextile by trine to Saturn the ruler here as well. So there is that blessing from Jupiter as to the new moon initiations, and how it's connected to your 4th and to your 6th house as well. Okay, I think that's it, Sagittarius. I hope you have a lovely new moon and a really good rest of January as well. And I'll look forward to talking to you in my next video. Thank you. Okay, going to quick pause. Okay, Capricorn. Sorry, I just had a little break there. It is hard work talking for so long, but I do love it. Okay, Capricorn. This new moon is happening in your 1st house. So it is a very personal new moon. As you know, the 1st house, or maybe you don't know, your 1st house is represents you. It's your what we call the helm of your ship. It's the place from which you steer the course of your life, just like your ship. The 1st house represents you, yourself, your body, your mind, your character, what you show to the world. And so this new moon here is very personal. You have in your 1st house, obviously, you've got the new moon here. It's conjunct the sun, which it always is when it's a new moon. You've got the asteroid Astraea, which is representing purity, integrity, and justice. In your 1st house, you have Mercury here, and you've got Mars. So it's the moon and her assembly, as I'm calling it. And this is really about bringing new initiations, something laying, new desires, new goals and directions. Because I say that because obviously a new moon is the closure of one lunar cycle, the beginning of a new one. But just earlier in the month, we had the rebirth of Venus and Mars in the heart of the sun, in the middle of a long extended triple conjunction with the sun within your 1st house. So Mars and Venus, one after the other, Venus first, basically were reborn in the heart of the sun, and we call this a cazimi. And so they both had a very personal meeting in the heart of the sun and were purified by the sun's divine light and heat. And what this symbolizes is a reclarifying, a rebirth, a recalibration of their natures and what it is that they want to bring to your life. So with Venus, we're looking at refined or new desires, okay? In terms of what it is that you want in the world. We know that Venus represents obviously relationships, and harmony represents aesthetics and beauty. It represents material things and comfort and money. It can represent sisters and the feminine. And so there is a refinement or a rebirth of what it is that you want, What brings you pleasure? What do you think is beautiful? Aesthetics. What do you want out of a relationship? And certainly with being born in Capricorn, your ascendant sign, Venus is saying what I desire is something that is going to be sustainable, that is going to be long term, that's going to provide me long term security and structure as well. And then you have Mars exalted in your first house, also being reborn in terms of what it is that you want to achieve. So you're probably, with Mars exalted here in your first house, you are probably really driven at the moment. You might be highly ambitious. You might be working really, really hard. Just be careful that you don't burn out. But you are willing to work hard to achieve long term. All right. So there's a lot of perseverance here. And Mars is unusually structured in Capricorn. Mars can be very destructive as well. So this is a very auspicious new moon for you. It is ruled by Capricorn, which is your ascendant ruler. And Capricorn has been moving through your third house for since March. Since March of 2023. Neptune has been here since April 2011. And Saturn here is really been teaching you lessons of maturity, perseverance, patience, the ability to get back up again when you're knocked down, being realistic, working hard. This is all in your third house. And your third house is your house of the local environment. It's your house of your neighbors, your community, your local shops. It's the house of your siblings, extended family. It is the house of communication. It's the house of your mind, your skills, your thoughts, thought patterns, your knowledge. It's the house of short trips as well. It's your early childhood learning and environment. And so in terms of communication, it could be, communication, it's writing, it's gossip, it's visiting your neighbors to have a chat. But it can also be writing projects, media projects, all of those things. So Saturn has been bringing lessons in this area, and Neptune has been great, came in and brought the vision, the idealism. Saturn came in and said, that's great, but you need to have structure, foundations, and boundaries to make this idealism workable. And so you might have had to really balance the two. But the wisdom that's come out of this, out of your third house, is then very much a part of these new beginnings that you are experiencing now, and that the new goals and desires that are now being put into place. And then on top of that, you've got Uranus sitting in your fifth house. So Uranus has been in your fifth house of self-expression, creativity, pleasure, children, romance. It's been in there for, almost 8 years now. And so you probably will have experienced lots of unexpected events, a lot of transformation in terms of being authentic. And when you're being authentic, then you can honestly say, what is it that makes me happy? What is it that I want to bring to the world, that I want to create? What activities bring me pleasure and joy? There might have been some unexpected, unusual romances, unusual in the sense that, people that were a little bit, unconventional, eccentric. But so Uranus is here until April next year, and Uranus is really about breakthroughs, innovation, future thinking, freedom, liberation. And so there's a real Uranian flavor here, because all these planets in the first house, some are already in the process of doing it now, but they are all passing through this supportive trine to Uranus. So bringing new ways of thinking, new desires, new goals, new drives, you know, so a new drive for things, for liberation, you know. So expect, because Uranus here is sextile to the ruler Saturn of the new moon, the ruler of your first house as well. So, you know, Uranus has been shaking up your ruler and your first house for some time as well. So expect the unexpected, but ultimately, because it's a trine, it's things that are going to be positive for you to help you on your way. And you've also got Jupiter here. So Jupiter sitting in your house of relationships. This is really beautiful. So you've had an exalted Jupiter bringing expansion, blessings, growth, to you know, expansion of your mind as well, new knowledge and learning in your seventh house. So this could be, your seventh house is your committed relationship, a committed partner. It could be romantic, it could also be a business partner, as perhaps, but really through your partner, you might have really met somebody that has expanded your horizons since June of 2025, or you know, expanded their mind, but really very beautiful blessings here in your relationship house. If you're single, this is really expanding how you see the other as well, what it is that, you know, how you see the other is obviously a reflection on how you see yourself. And so Jupiter here has really been expanding your mind in terms of what is it that I'm looking for in a partner? What is it that I'm going to bring to them and they're going to bring to me? Okay. And this really says that you're looking for a partner that's really going to broaden your horizons. Okay. Broaden your belief system as well. And so Jupiter is in a beautiful, by sign, not by orb, but in a beautiful sextile to Uranus here. Jupiter is in a beautiful trine to your ascendant ruler and Neptune here, and the ruler of Capricorn, your first house. So there's some beautiful blessings here. And I don't have my alignment lines on, but basically there's a beautiful sort of triangle forming that's providing sort of stability through those harmonious connections. So you've got the trine here and then sextile. So you can see that, imagine that triangle forming. Yeah, and so Venus, on the 17th, after she was reborn in your first house, she went very soon after, on the 17th, she moved into your second house. So your second house of livelihood, money, resources, you know, values, how you value, what you value. And she bumped straight into Pluto, okay, which is, you know, on a sort of 20 years, I don't remember exactly, but it's approximately 20 years in Aquarius. And, you know, which will, by the end of that 20 years, completely transform how you relate to money, your livelihood, what you do, your material resources. And so Venus bumps into Pluto, very powerful, Lord of the underworld, as we call Pluto. And Venus will be infused by his power for about 5 days, around, so we're saying about 17th to the 23rd. So Venus's desires, her emotions, feelings will be infused by the power of Pluto. She will be more intense than usual. Her desires will be more intense. Her desire for a very deep emotions will be heightened. Just watch for any sort of obsessiveness or power struggles within relationships. But it's a short meeting for about 5 days or so. And then Venus will be followed by, shortly after that moon seeds on the 19th, the moon moves into Aquarius and meets Pluto and moves through after 2 or so days. And then you have Mercury moving, sun after the moon, the sun moves in, to meet Pluto and to stay in Aquarius for a while, and then Mercury and then Mars. So it's so interesting that I find it very interesting symbolically that all the planets are kind of moving into your second house Aquarius after this sort of very powerful, although be it brief, meeting with Pluto. It's like they're all getting the orientation or the brief from Pluto, you know. So in Aquarius, end of February, early March, there'll be a real emphasis on your second house. And just note that these new beginnings happening in your Capricorn first house, they may not, the manifestations might not be sort of publicly visible until mid to late March, when Mars, Venus, and Mercury are visible again in the sky. When they're more than 15 degrees from the sun, they'll become visible in the sky again. And symbolically, and to ancient astrologers, this was really significant. It means that the actions, what the planets, their natures, what they are trying to express, won't be visible until that time when they reappear. Okay, well, thank you so much, Capricorn. All the best. Very, very beautiful and significant moon for you. And I'll talk to you in the next video. Okay, Aquarius. So Aquarius, this new moon happens in your 12th house. Your 12th house is a very complex, hidden part of your life. So there's the 12th house, can't talk anymore. Your 12th house represents your inner psyche. It's the part of your mind, that is often hidden even to yourself. And so it's often in things that are sitting in your subconscious. It's the house of past events, so where we hold on to past events and the emotions related to those experiences. It's the house of often self-limiting beliefs and self-harming habits that you may have. So we call it the house of self-undoing. It can be the house where we hold sorrows, we hold traumas. It can feel very isolating. And so it all sounds very bleak. We all have this house. But so this is about new beginnings within this area of your life. And in Capricorn, it's very much about building structures that are going to support you spiritually, but also ultimately materially as well, structures that are going to bring you spiritual liberation. And so the 12th house for all of us is all about working through the things that sit in our sort of psyche or in hidden aspects of ourselves, shining a light on it and really bringing focus and healing on those aspects. So I'm sure that as everybody's experienced, if we hold things in and we don't process them, this is when they kind of operate in the shadows and impact our lives. So this is a really great time to do some inner work in those aspects. Now, it's a wonderful time to build strong spiritual practices that help you to bring mindfulness in, self-awareness, perhaps counseling, a professional counseling as well, to really help you work through anything that is holding you back. And it's not an easy part of the chart to be working in, but as with anything that is difficult or hard work, the benefits are many, because once you bring greater balance and harmony to this part of your life, you're going to be able to operate with a lot more peace, harmony, confidence, and as we know, it affects every part of our life. So the 12th house can also represent hospitals as well, institutions. So new beginnings here. Now, obviously, astrology is very symbolic as well. So, it could be related to other parts of your life as well, but certainly and without looking at your personal chart, I'm not able to be more specific, but this is a wonderful opportunity for spiritual growth. Okay. And so the new moon is there together with an assembly. You have the sun really bringing intent and willpower and purpose to this part of your life. You've got the moon looking for, healing and emotional security, protection at this time. You've got Astraea looking, the asteroid asking you to be integrous, to come at this with purity of heart. You've got Mercury there, really bringing clarity of thought. I just got to let my dog in. Just 2 seconds. I'm just going to pause this recording. Sorry, doggy wanted to go out. I had to open the door. So yeah, really bringing. Now I've forgot my thoughts. Oh yeah, I was talking about Mercury. So Mercury, really helping your mind to put some structures in place through planning and structure. That's going to help you in this house. You've got Mars here, exalted, very strong, great drive. So the interesting thing though about the 12th house is the house where, obviously it's not a material house. And so it's the house where ego really doesn't rule. It doesn't have much power. So the 12th house is really about surrender and letting go. And in that sense here, Mars can help you really put some structure and healing in place through dedicated service, dedicated spiritual practice, and having that perseverance and drive to have that long-term goal of achievement within this house. So it's really about putting long-term practices and systems in place that are really going to support your inner work. And the ruler of this house is Saturn. And Saturn, actually, the 12th house is called the joy of Saturn. Isn't that interesting? Saturn, very interesting. I haven't brought this up with others, but I think this is quite pertinent for you, Aquarius. Saturn is in the ancient called Saturn. This was before, when Saturn was the last planet they knew existed in the sky. And so Saturn has a connection to being the gatekeeper, meaning that it was the limit of the known world, what you could see, and what lay beyond Saturn was unknown. And so from a spiritual perspective, it's really about that, the boundaries that you have between your known world and what lies beyond, and having that courage to explore what lies beyond in the 12th house. Saturn here in the 2nd house has really been asking you to review what material possessions and security means to you in that sense, because you've got Saturn sitting here with Neptune. Neptune is very idealistic. Neptune looks for beauty, connection to everybody, but Neptune has no boundaries, and Neptune can be illusory as well, bringing illusions to you. And then, so Neptune was in there since 2011, and then Saturn moved in, I keep forgetting this, it was March of 2023. And so Saturn really came in and said, okay, those beautiful visions that you have are wonderful, but we need to make sure that they're practical. We need to make sure that we have responsibility, we have foundations, we have structures in place. There might have been some hard lessons in terms of your finances or possessions, some difficulties for you to overcome. Saturn does that. Saturn asks us to grow up, to mature, to become resilient. And we only become resilient and wise through hardship, unfortunately, or things that we subjectively find difficult. So In that sense, the wisdom that you've gained from Saturn and Neptune moving through your second house, because they're about to leave, both of them, Neptune first, but they'll both be out of there by February 14th. So the wisdom, the lessons that you have learned are really connected to these new beginnings or initiations, long-term goals that are happening in your 12th house, and beautifully supported by Saturn and Neptune as well through a sextile. On top of that, you have Uranus in your 4th house. So Uranus here has been going through, oh, you can hear my dog barking. Might show him to you one day. Big Groodle. So Uranus has been transforming, shaking up your 4th house for the last 8 years approximately. So Uranus moved into your 4th house May of 2018. And Uranus is really the great liberator, the great awakener. Uranus represents, on a personal level, it represents your authentic you. And Uranus won't put up with anything else. So it's about being truly authentic. Uranus is the planet that basically demands that you are authentic and that you align your life on a path that is true to you. And if you don't, Uranus basically creates kind of sudden events, shocking events in your life that basically kick your legs from under you and go, oi, you know, you can't keep going in this direction anymore. I won't go into it, but I had a personal experience of that just recently, the last few months. So Uranus shakes things up and demands that you transform in that sense. Uranus represents breakthroughs, innovation, liberation. It's future thinking. It's rebellious. It's non-conforming or non-conformist. And so it's been shaking things up in your 4th house for quite some time. So that could materialize as instability in your living arrangements. Perhaps you've moved house a couple of times. Perhaps there's been a few, I don't know. I visited a friend's house the other day, and that friend of mine was renting, and anyway, the part of the roof actually fell down. Anyway, just an example, right? I'm not saying anything's going to fall down in your house, but you know what I mean? Like unexpected events in your home. But the thing is that Uranus is in a sextile to Saturn in your 2nd house. So that is a beautifully, we call that a sextile. It's a harmonious alignment with Saturn, which is the ruler of this 12th house moon. And Uranus is also in a beautiful supportive trine to the new moon. So if we're thinking about Uranus here, really the push for you to become more authentic, to align your living arrangements, your home, your inner world, your inner sanctuary, in a way that is more authentic to you, is then something that is supporting this growth here in the 12th house. Because, you know, if you have living arrangements that are supporting you authentically, then, you know, that is going to support this growth that you have, the spiritual growth that you have here in the 12th. So don't be surprised if there are some surprising events or changes or breakthroughs. You know, Uranus is very about the mind as well. So you might have some breakthroughs, and also related to your 2nd house of livelihood. So how you support yourself as well. So there could be some innovation or breakthroughs, but ultimately, I love this. This is really bringing you liberation, spiritual liberation in your 12th house, but also pushing for structure, vision, but ultimately authentic liberation in how you make your money, how you support yourself in the world, your connection to your material things that we have as well. Meanwhile, you've got Jupiter sitting here in your 6th house. I just thought I'd mention this. Jupiter exalted in your Cancer 6th house. Jupiter bringing blessings, expansion, broadening your horizons, your growth, really asking that you rework your sixth house is your day-to-day life. It's your routines. It's the responsibilities that we all have. It could be a work environment. It's our lifestyle, how we support our health through, having a good diet. It's, I was going to say posting a letter, but I can't remember the last time I did that. It's about going down, the shop, paying bills, getting some exercise, all those things that we do to support ourselves physically in the world is being blessed by Jupiter. And that's so important too when you look at the work that you're doing here in the 12th house. On the opposite side, we know that spiritual health, emotional health, psychological health is ultimately needs to go hand in hand with good lifestyle, a stable lifestyle that supports well-being and our ability to go out in the world and, make a living, to, all the other aspects of our life and of ourselves as well. So beautiful time, Aquarius. I really hope that, you have some beautiful breakthroughs, some beautiful growth as well. And I look, and a beautiful rest of January. And I look forward to, one more thing before I go. Just something to look forward to as well. Venus is here, bringing beautiful harmony, blessings to your first house, really increasing your self-esteem, your attractiveness, harmony in relationships. And so shortly so she moved in there on the 17th. And so shortly after this new moon seeds, the moon moves in there and moves through, about 2.5 days. And then the sun moves into your first house, and then Mercury moves into your first house, and then Mars, and each of them, and Venus included, she did this first, they all meet Pluto, very powerful Pluto sitting in your first house, which is transforming you over the next 20 years approximately. That's very approximate, but Pluto will be bringing, sorry, did I say Neptune? Pluto is really going to revolutionize you. There may be some, when I say, I'm talking metaphorically, death and rebirth, transformation. So some really big changes coming to you in the long term, but also, at the end of February, early March, you'll have this concentration of planets that have all, had their orientation from Pluto as they move into your first house. And so there'll be a really big focus on you, which is beautiful. All right, Aquarius, I think that's all I wanted to say. Have a wonderful rest of January, and I look forward to talking to you in the next video. Okay, Pisces. Pisces. Okay, so Pisces, this new moon is happening in your 11th house. Your 11th house is your house of friends, allies, mentors, your social group, your colleagues, it's your aspirations, it's your dreams. And so you've got the moon here and an assembly of personal planets and a special asteroid, Astraea, which I mentioned in the opening part. So you've got the new moon here and it's all happening in Capricorn. So the new moon is accompanied by the sun. You've got, the sun bringing new direction, purpose, willpower to this area of your life. You've got the moon asking for emotional security and nurturing within those bonds that you have in the 11th house and the dreams and the structures that you put in place to achieve those dreams and goals. You've got Astraea reminding you that whatever goals you work towards, don't forget to include or to be integrous, to be pure in your heart. And you've got Mercury here, very strategic in Capricorn. Mercury working the room communicatively is strategic, very practical. Mercury can be authoritative as well. And then you have a very driven, strong, exalted Mars in your 11th house, really in it for the long game, as we can say. So great perseverance, great drive, unusually constructive, or particularly constructive, I should say, in Capricorn. So this new moon comes after a reset of Venus and Mars in the heart of the sun. So going back to January, well, from the end of December 2025 until well into January. Got my dates now, but there was a very long triple conjunction happening, which is still continuing. So the triple conjunction between the Venus, Sun, and Mars, I think not still continuing. It finished, I think it was about the 17th, around the 17th of January. But anyway, I digress. So Venus and Mars were in this triple conjunction with the sun, and then Venus was reborn in the heart of the sun on the 5th and Mars on the 7th. So we say that when planets move through the heart of the sun, they are cazimi. So they have an audience with the sun where they are purified by the divine light of the sun's light, the sun's heat. And what we say is that, Venus is now comes out from that cazimi, that meeting with the sun, with purified, reclarified desires. In Capricorn, those desires are colored by the need for endurance, legacy, sustainability, material concerns, for security as well. And so Venus is now looking for relationships and structures and harmony that's going to be lasting long term. And Mars is reclarified in terms of his drive, his willpower, what he wants to achieve. He's very driven and energetic at the moment. So big new beginnings here in your 11th house. And at the time of this new moon, Venus has already popped out. So she moved into Aquarius on the 17th. And Venus, I'll talk more about that in a moment, but Venus has moved into your 12th house. So the new moon here brings new desires, new direction, new energy, and it is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is sitting in your first house. Saturn has been moving through your first house since June of 2023. Saturn, the hard taskmaster in your first house, has been asking you to be more mature, more resilient, more responsible, to be able to overcome obstacles, delays, and then, with Venus here as well, the Venus, Neptune here since 2011, bringing you new visions, idealism, a feeling of a need to really connect with everybody on a collective scale, great compassion. But so Saturn and Neptune together is very interesting because they've sort of brought balance to each other. Neptune is beautiful, but it has no boundaries sometimes, and Saturn definitely has boundaries. So if you had any illusions or you weren't drawing boundaries to protect yourself or to delineate your own needs, Saturn's come along and said, hey, those dreams are beautiful, those ideals are great, but we need to add some realistic structure to these so that your visions, your dreams can be sustained with foundations, with practicality. And so a lot of wisdom probably gained from the passing of these planets in your first house. They're about to leave. Neptune leaving 26th of January, Saturn joining Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries on February 14th. Okay, so very soon. So amazing lessons that you learned, wisdom, maturity, were the blessings of that, even though Saturn can subjectively be difficult and trying at times. But yeah, so the new wisdom that you've learned, the new balance that you found within yourself here in the first house, because your first house is you. It's the helm of your ship. It's from where you steer the course of your life. It's your body, your mind, your character. It's your values. It's what you show to the outer world. And so everything that you've learned here, the growth that you've had in your first house, is really connected to these new initiations of the moon in your 11th house in terms of what your goals are, what your aspirations are. How hard are you willing to achieve those aspirations? Who you're hanging out with? What kind of people do you want to be around? So yeah, very interesting. And then a very Uranian flavor too to these proceedings. You've got Uranus. It's been going through your eighth house in Taurus for, your third house in Taurus for about 8 years, and really demanding change, breaking through anything that's stale or inauthentic in your third house. So your third house is your local environment, your community, your siblings. It's related to early learning, your mind, your thoughts, your communication, writing, particularly, could be media projects. It's your local community, meeting Fred down the shop, or Gloria in the bookstore, or catching up with friends in local suburbs, or it can also be short trips as well. So this third house themes have really been shaken up by Uranus. You might have met some really unusual people, some really non-conventional people, some rebellious people. Uranus brings forward thinking. It brings technology, innovation, breakthroughs, surprise events, basically, ultimately liberation in many senses. And so expect, with Uranus being here, it's in a beautiful sextile to the ruler of this new moon, Saturn, in your first house. So there's probably been some aspects of that Uranus bringing surprises, new connections in your local environment, perhaps new ways that you've found of communicating. And it's also in a beautiful trine to this new moon in your 11th house. So the people that you hang out, your social circle, your mentors, Uranus may also be bringing that kind of changes as a result to your 11th house as well, and perhaps some new breakthroughs, new aspirations as well. And so you can see that Uranus is in a beautiful trine here, sextile to Saturn in your first, and that sextile goes back here. So there's a beautiful stability, supportive stability in what some people call a mini, like a mini, I've forgotten the words. Okay. In a kind of beautiful triangular supportive pattern, mini grand trine, that's the word I was trying to find. Sorry, I've been talking for a while. So beautiful support between your 11th house, your third house, and your first house. So your identity, your body, your mind, your soul, what you show to the world, what you value, what you want to do, what you want to achieve, who you want to hang around with, collaborate with, which groups, and your local environment as well. So yeah, beautiful. And then you've got Jupiter here has been in your beautiful fifth house. Jupiter, your ruler, in a house where Venus rejoices. Jupiter bringing growth, expansion, blessings, opportunities, learning, mentors, real growth here in your fifth house. And your fifth house is your self-expression. It's your creativity. It's all that. It's a house of everything, things that bring you pleasure, that bring you joy. It is the house of romances or romance. It's the house of children. So you might have found that since June of 2025, you've just in a really beautiful patch with your children, enjoying really harmonious, beautiful growth, watching your children grow, or your connection and relationship to your children. It can be a beautiful new romance that has really expanded your world. It can be a creative project that's really been blossoming here as well. So, and in Venus, in Cancer here as well, there's that real sense of that pleasure and creativity in children, a real nurture and protectiveness as well in the fifth house. And so Jupiter providing a beautiful sextile by sign from your fifth house to your third house topics, your local environment, siblings, neighborhood, your communication, what you want to communicate, any projects that you've got, and a beautiful trine by sign to the ruler of this new moon, Saturn, sitting in your first house as well. So, just beautiful. So this really provides, because Jupiter is exalted here in Cancer, really brings blessings and support to the new moon's initiations here in the 11th. I think that's all I wanted to say. Just a quick note that so Venus has moved shortly after her cazimi with the sun. She moved into Aquarius, your 12th house. And so we'll talk about this more later, but soon after this new moon seeds, the moon moves in to meet Pluto and into your 12th house for a short stay. The sun moves into your 12th house, and then Mercury, and then Mars. So by end of February, early March, there'll be a really strong focus on your 12th house. We can talk about that next time. And just to note that any of these sort of new things that you've put in place here in the 11th house, any seeds that have been laid, any intentions or actions that you've manifested, or in that push for that longer term vision or goal, you may not see tangible evidence or fruits of that until mid-March to end of March, when Mercury, Venus, and Mars become visible in the sky again. So they come out from the beams, under the beams of the sun. So the sort of the manifestations of those changes will become more visible around that time. All right, Pisces. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of January, and I look forward to talking to you in my next video. Okay, so that is all the signs. If you're still watching, hopefully you are, but I just wanted to say thank you, and I will be back for the next new moon report. Again, please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Please visit my site, Lifetree Astrology. Visit Astral Musings page for my posts. I love my writing. I'm really, because I've had to go back to work after a long time on leave. So I'm really trying to find the time to get everything done. But I'm making some changes in my work area soon, thanks new moon in my 6th house, to bring me greater freedom. Thank you, Uranus, to be more authentic, follow my desires. Anyway, so you can subscribe if you want to be notified of my posts. If you'd like a reading, if you'd like me to have a look at your chart, I'd be really honored. I have bookings on my front page. You can learn a bit more about me. I think that's it. All right. I look forward to seeing everybody next time. Thank you.